Have you ever imagined what it would be like if you and everyone else were suddenly transported into a monster farming game world where you had to build your own empire? A place where everyone awakens a unique skill, triggers a talent, and becomes a powerful mage, a tanky warrior, or a vital support. Welcome to a world that runs exactly like a video game. Today, we are diving deep into that reality. It was just another normal day in the Long Kingdom on Planet Blue. Our main man, Qin Feng, was out at a construction site, putting in the work like he does every single day. Suddenly, everyone in the city stopped what they were doing and looked up at the sky. Out of nowhere, the bright day turned pitch black. Qin Feng was just as confused as everyone else, wondering what the hell they were all staring at. When he finally looked up, he saw thick, dark clouds that looked like literal sludge, completely blotting out the sun. It was an eerie sight that had everyone whispering, was it an alien invasion? Is the world finally ending? People started panicking and running for their lives. Right then, a beam of light shot down from the heavens, hitting Qin Feng dead center. Before he could even process what was happening, a glowing system interface popped up in front of him. Everyone else had one too, and text started scrolling across the screens. Welcome to the Infinite Plains. Let the global massacre begin. It turns out every healthy person between 15 and 50 years old was marked by the system and dragged into the death realm. It is a place crawling with monsters and demons from over 1,000 different races. It is a world of pure chaos and death. But for those who survive, it is filled with endless resources and opportunities. In this realm, you could die in an instant, or you could achieve immortality and become a total legend. After the introduction, beams of blue energy swept everyone up and whisked them away into a mystical, dreamlike world. This instant teleportation left everyone, including our main man, thinking, what the hell is going on? A few seconds later, everyone was dropped into different starter villages. Qin Feng found himself in Beginner Village 911, along with 1,000 other players. He was still trying to get his bearings when he realized he was standing right in front of a small wooden shack. This was a safe zone where no monsters could attack. These cabins were for rookies to rest, and staying inside would double the recovery speed for your energy and spirit. Curious, Qin Feng checked his own stats. Since he was a total newbie, his numbers were pretty trash. The system felt just like a game simulator, complete with a global chat where everyone was freaking out. It reminded me of the days I used to sneak money from my mom to buy game credits just to talk to girls. Everyone was in the same boat, totally panicked and clueless about what was happening. Qin Feng stayed calm and assessed the situation. Most people were level 1, with just a few standouts pushing toward level 2. Based on what he saw, the average stat was around 10, but Qin Feng did not even hit 10 in any of his 4 main stats. Honestly, it made sense. He spent all his time playing Free Fire instead of hitting the gym, so his stats being garbage was expected. But strangely enough, his spirit stat was off the charts. The highest anyone else had was 13, but his was a whopping 28. He was not sure what that did yet, but a notification popped up saying their stats would determine their awakened skill. These skills were ranked from F to SS, from bottom of the barrel to God tier. Once Qin Feng hit accept, he was pulled into a zero-gravity void where blue orbs started flying at him. He figured these were probably trash-tier skills because there were so many of them and they all looked identical. High-tier skills had to be somewhere special, right? So, Qin Feng started dodging every orb that came his way. But suddenly, one orb zipped toward him so fast he could not move. He panicked, thinking he was about to get stuck with some garbage skill. But guess what? Even though he usually has the worst luck, he managed to snag a SS-rank skill, Infinite Extraction. It can strip away a target's disadvantages and provide unbelievable buffs. Qin Feng was stunned. He did not fully get it yet, but he knew he had to test this out once he got back to the village. Time was up, and everyone was teleported back outside. The system announced the results. 787 people got F rank, 194 got E rank, and the rest were D rank or higher. Basically, almost everyone was stuck in E or F, with less than 2% reaching D rank. Qin Feng wondered if anyone else got an SS rank, but he might just be the strongest one there. Everyone was bragging about their skills in the chat. C rank players were being treated like celebrities. If he told them he was SS rank, they would probably cough up blood from jealousy. Plus, showing off would just attract a bunch of weaklings trying to leech off him. This is a brutal world, so he decided to keep his rank a secret. Another notification popped up. It was time to leave the shacks and head into the beginner village. The system warned them not to do anything stupid in this world. Every mistake is paid for in blood. It also explained how to level up, hunt monsters, demons, and beasts to gain energy. Everyone was given their starter gear. Qin Feng reached into the system and pulled out a rusty sword. It gave him a +2 to strength. But man, it looked pathetic. He was not even sure if this thing could pierce monster hide. He wondered what would happen if he could just level the sword up a bunch. Will boosting my attack power actually make a difference? Then it hit him. He had that SSS-rank infinite extraction skill he'd just snagged. He was itching to give it a test run. That rusty old sword started to shift. Within seconds, it had transformed into a finely crafted steel blade, giving him a +5 attack boost. So, that's how his skill worked. Getting a bit greedy, Tanfong tried to level it up one more time. But no dice. The system pinged with a failure notice. Look, taking a piece of junk like that up a whole rank was already a miracle. Come back with something better if you want to talk. Some people are never satisfied. Seriously. Tanfong got the hint. Everything has its limits. Honestly, turning a trash sword into this was already like using a cheat code. He decided not to push his luck. He gave the sword a test swing, and damn, the power was on another level. He smirked, pretty sure his gear was now miles ahead of anyone else's in this place. Just then, the chatter from the crowd outside caught his attention. He stepped out to take a look. Welcome to the Infinite Plains, a massive, sprawling world. Everyone was freaking out because the beginner's trial was set to last for 7 whole days. If you don't hit level 10, you're toast. People were frantically swapping info about their skills. One guy had speed enhancement, another had super hearing. Man, imagine having super hearing when someone rips a loud one. You'd probably drop dead from the shock. Right in front of them stood the portal leading to another world, but nobody dared to cross it yet, terrified of what might be waiting on the other side. Suddenly, a massive tremor grabbed everyone's attention. A bald guy who looked like a total tank stepped forward. He was a cut above the rest, already pushing level 2 before things even started. The crowd looked at him with pure awe, because out here, strength is everything. He acted like he owned the place, but his skill was actually only rank D. His frenzy strength skill tripled his power. Since his base strength was already a solid 18, tripling it put him at a whopping 54. One punch from this guy would send you straight to the afterlife. Our main man figured this bald dude was easily in the top 10 of the entire village. Soaking up the admiration, the bald guy was feeling himself. But rank D wasn't exactly the top tier around here. Everyone was dying to see the 2 people with rank C skills, just to see how powerful they really were. Plus, there was one mystery player whose rank was hidden, no doubt. That was our guy, Tanfong. Feeling his spotlight slip away, the bald guy got salty. He announced he'd head out first to show everyone exactly what those monsters were made of. He took the lead and stepped into the portal, while everyone watched with bated breath. Tanfong just watched from the sidelines. That bald guy was strong, sure, but he was a massive show-off. Guys like that usually end up as monster bait. Once inside, it didn't take long for him to run into trouble. It was already standing right behind him, a ferocious bunny-eared bear, its eyes wild with a hunger for fresh meat. 10 seconds later, a notification flashed for everyone outside. Player Vuong Quang has been killed by a level 1 beast, the Blood Bunny Bear. These level 1 monsters are 2 tiers above humans in combat power, so seriously, don't try to be a hero. Everyone was paralyzed with fear. If a powerhouse like the bald guy got wiped out that fast, what chance did they have? Even Tanfong was breaking a sweat. If that guy couldn't handle a level 1 beast, this other world was going to be way more brutal than he imagined. To stop people from hiding in the starter village like cowards, the system decided to scrap the protective barrier entirely. This wasn't a solo game. People realized they had to team up if they wanted any hope of surviving those monsters. They started forming groups based on their stats and skills. One guy noticed Tanfong was alone and tried to invite him to join their squad. Our protagonist just gave him a cold no and walked away. He knew grouping up was the smart move for most people, but it just wasn't his style. He had to keep his awakened skill a secret until he was strong enough to defend himself. He waited for 15 minutes after the last group went in. Then finally, it was his turn to step through the gate. Tanfong was a bit stunned by the scenery. It felt like he'd stepped right back into a prehistoric wilderness. He half expected a dinosaur to jump out of the bushes and say hello at any second. Suddenly, the heavy scent of blood caught the wind. It was the bald guy's corpse, and man, it was a gruesome sight. Looking at him, it hit home one wrong move and he'd be dead too. There was no room for mistakes. To survive, he had to be cautious and level up as fast as possible. Then an idea popped into his head. He turned back to the body and decided to test his skill on the dead guy. Unbelievable. He actually snatched the guy's skill for himself. Talk about a total cheat code. Now he had that rank D frenzy strength. It turned out his infinite extraction could pull insane new effects directly from his targets. His base strength was 8, but with this skill, tripling it, he was now at 24, making him stronger than almost everyone else back at the village. Realizing just how god-tier his SSS skill was, he felt like he'd hit the jackpot. He was ready to go on a shopping spree. Who knows? He might end up snagging 1,000 more skills at this rate. Tan Fong didn't forget to grab the bald guy's sword either, using his skill to give it an upgrade. He moved on a bit further until he found the carcass of the blood bunny bear to check its wounds. Looking at these wounds, it seems like someone already took it down. Let me try using my skill on it and see what happens. I actually squeezed 2 more strength points out of this guy. That is freaking insane. I have never seen a skill this ridiculously broken. Tan Fong figured that quite a few teams must have already wiped out most of the beasts by now. Following the trail like this is a total win. But just as he started scouting around, another notification popped up. A second person had been taken out by a monster. Hearing that, he immediately wanted to find the body to see if there were any skills left to scavenge. However, he had no idea what kind of nightmare that guy's team had run into. Better stay on high alert. Before he knew it, another death notification appeared. Another one bit the dust. All killed by the wild rat beasts. He guessed they all died in the same spot. These beasts are way more dangerous than he thought. He wondered what exactly stopped them from fighting back. Our protagonist pushed forward anyway and reached an open field. The stench of blood hung heavy in the air. Those 2 victims from the announcement were lying right there. Strangely enough, the wild rat's body was right next to them, and it was badly wounded. Tan Fong wasted no time and started creeping toward it. He activated his skill and lunged forward to strike, but the rat was fast. It sensed him immediately and swung its claws to fight back. His initial attack was blocked, but that beast was still outclassed. From midair, Tan Fong used all his strength to hurl his sword straight down. At the same time, he dropped down and slammed his weight into the rat's chest, making it shriek in agony. Then, Tan Fong delivered the final blow. The rat was down for good. Tan Fong realized he would have to keep playing it safe and hiding in the bushes, because even taking down one wounded beast was a struggle. If he ran into an awakened beast, he would be in real trouble. On the bright side, he gained some experience points for killing that rat. 30 out of 100 experience to reach level 2, not a bad start at all. He proceeded to use his skill on the monster's carcass. He gained 2 agility points. But now for the main course, he headed over to the bodies of the 2 people the monster had killed. He picked up an F-rank skill, Enhanced Olfactory. When active, it boosts his sense of smell to 10 times that of a normal person. It is a bit weak, but it will definitely come in handy. This forest is massive, so finding bodies would be nearly impossible without a skill like this. Now he could track the scent of blood. Tan Fong decided to test it out, but the sudden, overwhelming stench of blood hit him so hard it made him want to puke. He calmed himself down and tried to regulate the skill a bit. Suddenly, the scent of the trees and flowers felt incredibly refreshing. Suddenly, he sensed something approaching. A team was being chased by a frenzied wild rat, but they managed to slaughter the beast in no time. This was a team with actual skill and strategy. Our guy stayed hidden in the grass, thinking it was best to bolt running into them would just mean a long, annoying explanation. He needed to keep scavenging to get stronger. Moving further along, he stumbled upon another team launching an ambush on a wolf. He just had to lurk around the hunting grounds and wait for the perfect chance to scavenge the remains. This rookie hunting zone has 5 types of level 1 beasts. The lineup includes the wild rat, blood sphere beast, grass wolf, violent boar, and the venomous red snake. Right then, Tan Fong stumbled upon the carcass of a boar. He tried to use his extraction skill on it, but the system threw an error. He had already reached the limit for extracting from the same type and level of beast. He could only extract 3 times. Tough luck, kid. Do not get too greedy. Tan Fong realized he would have to track down a venomous red snake if he wanted to keep power leveling. But where would he find one? There were 7 bodies nearby, and he figured human corpses were a higher priority, since stats can always be boosted later. Besides, the more awakened skills he had right now, the better. From this particular body, he managed to snag an enhanced vision skill. Now, he had 4 enhancement skills, not even counting his SSS-rank 1. His combat effectiveness had already jumped to 2 stars. This should be enough to take on a level 1 beast solo. Suddenly, the sharp scent of snake venom hit his nose. Tan Fong knew right away it had to be the venomous red snake. He sprinted toward the scent and caught another whiff, something that smelled like some kind of exotic fruit. There it was, a massive snake coiled around a tree trunk. As he got closer, the smell became overpowering. A flowering plant was giving off that scent, and the snake seemed to be guarding it like a prize. He figured that plant must be something special. The venomous red snake is the strongest level 1 beast in this entire endless plain. Its spirit stat is pretty high too. Tan Feng's sword nudged against something, making a tiny noise just enough for the snake to lock onto his position. It instantly lunged from the tree, baring its fangs to take a bite out of him. Tan Feng reacted quickly, leaping out of the way just in time. He noticed its speed was surprisingly sluggish. Maybe it had just eaten or was so focused on guarding that tree that it could not move at full speed. If it were moving at normal speed, he would probably be a goner. Tan Feng unsheathed the sword from his back and swung a heavy strike at the beast, but its scales were so tough that his blade could not even leave a scratch. The snake reacted instantly, whipping its body around and sending Tan Feng flying. He slammed into a rock, letting out a cry of pain. Just as it opened its maw to finish him, our hero quickly activated his strength enhancement skill. He drove his sword straight into the upper roof of the snake's mouth. The blade sank deep, and the beast thrashed in agony, lifting Tan Feng right off the ground. While suspended in the air, Tan Feng ripped his sword out. He performed a stunning mid-air flourish, showing off his true skills. The snake was sliced into 5 massive chunks of meat. It was finally down, and some strange black liquid started oozing out of the remains. He was curious and suspected there was something hidden in the snake's stomach. If not for that, he probably would have had a much harder time killing it. He sliced open the stomach and found a human corpse inside. It was an absolutely gruesome sight. This world is freaking brutal. It's survival of the fittest, and if you're weak, you're nothing but monster bait. He uses his skill on this target and gains enhanced vision. He had actually snagged a similar ability just a little while ago. When 2 identical skills merge, they automatically level up to E rank, making his eyesight 20 times more powerful than a normal human's. Qin Feng figures that if he keeps running into similar talents, he will definitely get a shot at evolving his own abilities. Plus, his chances of awakening new skill talents are way higher now. Using his new vision to scan a nearby plant, he identifies it as a red python fruit, a level 1 spiritual fruit. Eating this thing boosts your constitution and doubles your poison resistance. He can't believe it. This skill breaks down data, just like those high-tech scanners you see in sci-fi movies. He moves in to pick the fruit and gives it a taste. Thanks to his analysis skill, Qin Feng is 100% sure this thing isn't toxic. As soon as he swallows it, his body starts changing. He gains 8 constitution points, and his poison resistance shoots up by double. Qin Feng wonders if there are more of these around. He only ate the fruit, but the flower underneath is still there. His vision tells him that once the red python fruit is picked, the plant will wither away and become worthless in a few days. It would be a waste to leave it behind, since it is packed with natural energy. He decides to eat it, and uses his purification skill to clean it out. That flower turns into 2 constitution points. At this point, his combat rating has hit a solid 2 stars. Qin Feng's stats are through the roof now, a far cry from where he started. He is confident he can take on 3 or 4 level 1 beasts without breaking a sweat. He decides his next move is to track down and purify another venomous 9-ring python. He is ready to leave this beginner zone for a much bigger world, one filled with even stronger monsters. To survive here, he has to become the strongest. But as he is walking, 3 stones suddenly fly at him. His reflexes are lightning fast. He leaps onto a tree trunk to dodge. He thinks it is an ambush by another person, but his sharp nose picks up the scent of a beast. It is a venomous 9-ring python. No wonder he didn't notice it sooner. The smell of the blood from the snake he just killed was masking everything else. Just as he is about to catch his breath, a group of players practically delivers a gift to his doorstep. A team is working together to fight the snake, but it is way too strong for them. They are barely hanging on. One guy is desperately trying to drive his iron sword into the snake's head. Qin Feng recognizes him. That is Lei Jue, a guy with a D-rank lightning manipulation talent. There are only 17 people in the beginner village who awakened D-rank talents. Lei Jue is one of the 16 left, since one of them already bit the dust. He remembers Lei Jue leaving the village with a team of 8. But now there are only 6 left. The other 2 must have been sent to the respawn screen permanently. The snake is still too powerful. It slams Lei Jue into the dirt with a single blow. The rest of the team is determined though. They rush in from all sides, trying to surround the monster. Meanwhile, Qin Feng stays back, using his vision to check the monster's stats. A detailed system window pops up for the beast, a level 1 venomous 9-ring python. What they don't know is that Qin Feng already slaughtered a snake, just like this one earlier. He hides behind a tree, waiting for them to leave so he can scavenge the corpse. But a tiny rustle in the grass gives him away. Mistaking him for a monster, a girl fires an arrow right at him. Looks like she has got some kind of hearing-based talent. Qin Feng steps out with a friendly face, saying he is just passing through. The archer girl recognizes him immediately, even though he has no clue who she is. She tells him she remembers his profile picture from the chat channel back in the safe zone waiting room. There were 1,000 people in that chat. For her to remember him specifically is pretty weird. She asks if he is out here all by himself, warning him how dangerous it is. He just gives a half-hearted muh, but inside, he is dying for them to leave so he can grab that giant snake's body. The girl is super enthusiastic, even asking Lei Jue to let Qin Feng join the squad. Lei Jue thinks about it for a second and agrees, telling Qin Feng to show him what he can do. He says if he is not totally useless, he will take him in. Qin Feng hesitates. He wants to build his own power, but he can't just rush into joining someone else's team. He needs to maintain his image as a powerhouse. Meanwhile, the other teammates are being friendly, telling him to just show off a skill so the big boss will recruit him. Qin Feng shuts them down instantly. He tells them, "No thanks, I work better alone." Then he just turns and walks away, leaving the girl looking totally embarrassed. Lei Jue doesn't try to force the issue. The girl clearly has a crush on him. She whispers to herself, "I guess you really don't remember me, do you?" As Lei Jue's group walks away, they start gossiping about how arrogant Qin Feng is for turning down their help, but they suddenly freeze when they look back at where the snake was. All that's left are piles of meat, perfectly sliced into countless pieces. The sight of that mangled beast sent a shiver down their spines. They couldn't help but wonder, was this Liu Xuan's handiwork? In this beginner village, he is the only one with a top-tier talent and the strength to match. But then they remembered Liu Xuan's squad had headed in the exact opposite direction. Looking at the state of that snake, they felt a cold dread wash over them. Whoever butchered this thing had to be at least a level 2 powerhouse. One of them tracked the bloodstains and figured it was killed about 15 minutes ago, cut into 7 pieces with a single, lethal strike. What is more, there were only one person's footprints at the scene. It sounded absolutely insane taking it down in one shot. This species has incredibly high defensive scales. They would probably break their blades just trying to scratch it. They figured this person had to be a master among masters. Plus, they were likely a solo hunter. A blonde girl wondered if it could be Qin Feng. He was the only one nearby earlier, and he is the type who prefers working alone. Suddenly, a system notification popped up, forcing them all to stop dead in their tracks. Someone in Beginner Village had already reached level Leather 3, triggering the top 100 leaderboard. As the rankings appeared, Qin Feng was listed at rank 47. Still at level 1, they realized right then that Qin Feng couldn't be the mystery man. A moment later, the server-wide leaderboard finished updating. Rank 1 was Liu Xuan at level 3. Second and third place were both level 2. Qin Feng looked at his 47th place rank and felt like a total loser. 4 or 5 hours had already passed, and 8 people had already hit level 2. With Liu Xuan leading at level 3, he really needed to pick up the pace. The level 1 beasts on the beginner plains had reached their maximum size. From now on, he would have to hunt actual ferocious monsters. The system did not just track the rankings. It also gave out rewards based on your position, just like a video game. The person in first place would get a gold treasure chest upon reaching level 10. Those ranked lower would receive silver or bronze chests. Qin Feng found it pretty interesting. Anyone in the top 100 who reached level 10 would get a corresponding prize. What is more, you did not even have to wait for the trial to end to open them. That was surprisingly generous of the system. The chests were ranked from black iron, bronze, silver, and gold, all the way up to dark gold, purple gold, epic, and mythic tier. It was clear that the higher the chest tier, the better the loot inside. A desperate race to level up was about to begin. Qin Feng was determined to get the best rewards possible. He sprinted off on his hunting journey and soon tracked down a level 1 wolf with a 4-star combat rating. He immediately activated his strength and agility enhancement skills. He lunged forward, thrusting his sword into its side, but the wolf was incredibly tough. It felt like hitting a slab of solid iron. Even with his talent active, he couldn't leave a scratch on it. He was not sure how to take it down, and the wolf, sensing something strange about Qin Feng, stayed on high alert. Even though it was only level 1, it felt way stronger than a level 3. Suddenly, it snarled and lunged at him with pure ferocity. Qin Feng guessed its weakness had to be its back. As the saying goes, they have iron heads but tofu backs. The wolf's charge was the perfect opening. Qin Feng moved with lightning speed, meeting the beast head-on and driving his blade through its belly, straight up to its spine. The wolf was dead in a heartbeat. It was the strongest beast he had faced so far, but unfortunately for the wolf, Qin Feng was just way too overpowered. By taking down this mutated silverback gray wolf, he earned 100 experience points. He finally hit level 2, and all his stats instantly jumped up by 10 points. He could feel his body changing the moment he leveled up. It felt like a warm current was flowing through his core. Every wound on his body was instantly healed. It was truly a miracle. He also got lucky and snagged a treasure chest for killing that arrogant beast. Qin Feng did not forget to pray to his ancestors, hoping to pull something amazing. A blinding light flashed as he pried the chest open, and Qin Feng pulled out the Blood Orchid Warblade. It was forged from a titanium alloy and infused with wolf essence, making it peerlessly sharp. It doubled his attack power and bleed damage. Qin Feng knew this was a game changer. With a sword like this, he didn't need to fear those mutated freaks anymore. Before that wolf died, it had managed to howl for its pack. A swarm of wolves arrived quickly, though none were as strong as the first one. This was perfect timing. He wanted to test out his new blade's power. He unleashed a series of devastating slashes all around him. The wolves kept lunging at him in a frenzy. One tried to sneak up from behind, but Qin Feng spun around and impaled it in a single motion. To him, these things were nothing more than trash now. Qin Feng made short work of the entire pack. Now that he was level 2, he could feel his strength, and everything else had reached a whole new level. It took him less than a minute to wipe out 3 of those wolves. This was not something a normal person could achieve. He was not really interested in uncovering the world's secrets just yet. But the harsh reality was that everything below him was hell. He had to stay sharp and get stronger if he wanted to survive and find a way back. After slaughtering the pack, Qin Feng was almost at level 3, needing only 80 more points. Meanwhile, over with Lei Jue's group, he was acting like he owned the place. After reaching level 2, taking down level 1 bosses had become a total walk in the park for him. But the thing that shocked everyone the most was the global announcement. Qin Feng had slain a level 1 mutated beast, earning the first kill and 1 fame point. Fame points were incredibly rare. If you gathered enough, you could receive a blessing from the gods. And those points only came from getting the first kill on a new mutated beast. As the reputation points came in, people saw a familiar name and remembered he was the guy they'd met that morning. They couldn't believe he had soloed a mutated beast all by himself. He was ranked 47th, for crying out loud. How could he possibly take one down alone? He must have just kill-stolen it from someone else. They figured the kid just got lucky. But then more notifications started flooding the system channel. 4 people had been taken down by a level 1 mutated tusked boar. They couldn't believe a level 1 mutated beast took out a team of 4, including 2 level 2 players. It was just insane. So how in the world did Qin Feng kill a monster like that by himself? It had to be a glitch. And then Qin Feng's rank changed. He shot up to rank 11, and then jumped again to rank 5, even surpassing Lei Jiao. Everyone was in shock, wondering what the hell he was on to grow so fast. But Lei Jiao calmed everyone down. They had to keep hunting beasts. They couldn't afford to fall behind. Meanwhile, our protagonist was relentlessly farming monsters. By sunset, he'd taken down a mountain of wolves. He took a break and checked the world chat, just like he always did. Some guy was trapped because his entire team had been wiped out. He had a speed-enhancing skill, so he managed to escape. He was stranded, and that tusked boar was the same mutated beast that had killed his teammates. Qin Feng thought for a moment. He was southwest of the starter village. If he ran at full speed, it would only take him about 5 minutes. If he killed that mutated tusked boar, the power he'd get from it would be 2 or 3 times that of a normal beast. He was practically drooling at the thought. Plus, it would probably drop a chest. This was his chance to get some gear. He sprinted to the location and found the corpses left behind by the boar. But it wasn't just the scent of boar blood. He could also smell a blood bear. Different types of beasts weren't supposed to work together. Something was off, but he decided to collect the skills from the corpses first and figure it out later. From one body, he only got 2 agility points and no skills, which left Qin Feng completely baffled. Shouldn't everyone have a skill? He figured he probably already had that person's talent, and since his was a higher rank, he couldn't acquire it. He followed the boar's tracks. It looked like it had dragged away the body of the level 2 player. That person had a D-rank awakened skill. He couldn't let that go to waste. Qin Feng ran as fast as he could, afraid the beast would devour the body. He arrived at what seemed to be the boar's lair. The place gave him a very dangerous vibe, but suddenly, a mutated snake shot out from the cave and attacked him. This thing had a 5-star combat rating, a 10-ringed red snake. It was on a completely different level from the wolf he'd killed earlier. Realizing this was bad, he also saw that the beast had a poison effect. He had never prepared to face a situation like this. The snake spat venom from its mouth, and the poisonous smoke quickly reached Qin Feng's eyes. His vision was severely impaired by it. Qin Feng was in a full-blown panic. To make matters worse, 3 more monsters appeared, surrounding him. He grabbed his blade, telling himself he couldn't die here, but his eyes were already badly injured. Still, our protagonist fought back, swinging his blade wildly at any monster that got close. The other beasts were no match for Qin Feng. He could take them down quickly, but the real heavy hitter, the venomous snake, was still lurking in the shadows. Just as he expected, the deadly 10-ringed snake always attacked from behind. Even though he couldn't see, his talented sense of smell and hearing were still sharp, allowing Qin Feng to dodge and launch a counterattack. He lunged forward at incredible speed, channeling all his power into his blade and plunging it down into the snake's head. Its scales were tough, but this blade was no joke either. On top of that, Qin Feng activated his berserk skill, tripling his attack damage. He successfully defeated the snake, earning 100 experience points and a black iron treasure chest. By this point, Qin Feng was completely exhausted. He'd used up everything he had to take that snake down. That was way too close. If he hadn't gotten that physical enhancement talent earlier, he would have been a goner for sure. And with that, Qin Feng reached level 3. All of his stats increased by another 10 points. Because he leveled up, his eyes were also fully healed. Qin Feng burst out laughing. How could he have forgotten? Leveling up instantly restores the body to its perfect state. Even broken limbs or blinded eyes would heal back to the way they were. This level up came at the perfect time. Qin Feng then remembered the chest he'd just received. He opened it, and a teleportation gate appeared. A bright light emanated from within, and Qin Feng cautiously reached his hand towards it. The presence of the 3 beasts that had ambushed him vanished right at this spot. Based on his current strength, he wasn't worried about them, but he had a nagging feeling that something far more terrifying was behind their strange behavior. He stepped through the portal. Inside, there were tons of level 1 medicinal herbs, but what truly sent a shiver down his spine was the sight before him, a pile of dried-up corpses, and with them, the 3 beasts from earlier. The system notified him that he had entered an alternate dimension. The map channels would be unusable, but the information and chat channels could be used as normal. He activated his Eye of Truth. On top of the pile of bones was a bizarre figure that looked just like the Grim Reaper. Race, deceased humanoid. Level 4, with a 6-star combat rating. Hidden trait, possesses evil power, awaiting fresh blood to be revived. Qin Feng could tell this thing was terrifying, and its skills weren't even showing up. That means its total combat power had to be at least 7 stars. On top of that, it had 3 mutated beasts. The situation was completely against him. His best bet was to get out of there and come back to challenge it when he was stronger. Just as our hero was about to turn tail and run, the Death God spotted him. It unleashed its power, sending glowing green chains flying towards him, and all 3 beasts charged right after. Qin Feng sensed the danger and leaped into the air, dodging the green chains. He was forced to constantly evade, guessing that these chains must be the Death God's special skill. But in a moment of carelessness, he wasn't fast enough, and a chain wrapped tightly around him. The Death God stepped forward and spoke. For so long, I've had to rely on the vital energy of corpses to sustain myself. But now, a living human has trespassed into my territory. What a delicious treat. It wanted to possess his body. The 3 beasts were closing in on Qin Feng. He told himself, if I can't break free from its control, I'm definitely going to die here. He unleashed all of his power and shattered the chain, sending the charging beasts flying back at the same time. Qin Feng moved quickly, striking each one down with a single blow, taking out the rat and the rabbit-eared bear. The Death God couldn't believe it. This human spirit power was only at the 3-star level. How could he possibly escape its mental control? Meanwhile, Qin Feng launched himself at the Death God, ready for a bloody fight, but it blasted him with a wave of energy that pierced right through him, sending him to his knees. The Death God laughed, boasting that no human could resist its telekinetic power. It declared its love for his body, but Qin Feng just smirked and got back on his feet. He had dumped all of his free attribute points into his spirit power. He had broken free from its control. The Death God then ordered the wild boar to attack Qin Feng. He simply ignored it and slammed it into the wall. At the same time, the boar and the rat, which wasn't dead yet, closed in to pin him down. Luckily, when he had killed the mutated 10-ringed serpent earlier, he had unlocked a low-level spatial storage ring. Even if he carelessly lost his blood orchid blade, he could summon it back from his storage space at any time. He used his blade to block the beast's attack and thought, I have to kill these 2 mutated beasts first, then I can deal with the Death God. He knocked the 2 beasts away, but the Death God launched another vicious sonic wave at him. It sneered, thinking, So what if you temporarily escaped my mental control? You're still no match for me. It figured it would take Qin Feng at least 2 minutes to break through its attack, and in that time, the two mutated beasts would be more than enough to finish him off. But finally, something he got from killing the 10-ringed serpent came into play. His blade was coated with its venom, and enough time had passed for it to take effect, sending the mutated beasts to their graves. Now, his only opponent left was that dried-up death god. He'd figured out early on that it couldn't move. With all 3 of its beasts dead, he wondered who was going to protect it now. Our hero channeled power into his blade, unleashing a terrifying aura that made the death god tremble. Then, in the blink of an eye, he rushed forward, delivering 2 powerful slashes that cut the mummified death god in half. He had sent it to meet its makers. A system notification popped up. Qin Feng has successfully killed the mummy, receiving 21 experience points. At the same time, he completed a hidden system test, promoting to a level 1 adjudicator. The adjudicator's sacred duty is to kill evil beings and destroy those who disrupt the laws of heaven. They are a 1 in 100 million existence. His promotion to level 1 was successful, and all of his stats increased by 20 points. Qin Feng found it all a bit strange. He had almost lost his life this time, but the rewards were massive. No wonder the laws of heaven say that in this world of death, danger, and opportunity coexist. And so, Qin Feng used infinite extraction on the death god's corpse. He obtained its skill, God's Seal. With the corresponding talent, he could merge with the God's Seal, gaining a level 3 beast taming skill. That sounded pretty interesting. A level 3 beast taming skill. If he learned this, he could control a group of beasts to hunt monsters for him. He'd be completely unstoppable. Qin Feng took the skill orb and thought, the requirements to learn this are pretty steep. At a minimum, I need to awaken the D-rank talent, thought enhancement. I'm also missing a beast taming pill. I wonder if that mummy had one on it, or maybe a recipe to make one? No sooner said than done. He ran over to the death god's remains and started rummaging through its stuff. It reeked like something that hadn't bathed in centuries, and there was a whole mess of junk here. A gold chain swindled from some demon concubine, and a pink apron the death god must have stolen from a bathhouse. After searching for a while, he couldn't find anything remotely useful. Frustrated, Qin Feng kicked everything away and left the stinking, broke corpse behind. He began to purify the beasts in the area, absorbing their attribute points, but still didn't find the materials he needed. This mummy's talent was a mental type. He reminded himself, next time, I need to be way more careful with these kinds of attacks. They're much trickier than those brainless beasts. He decided to try using his new thought enhancement talent and the skill he got from merging with the God's Seal. Qin Feng placed his hand on the ground and formed a seal, instantly collecting all the medicinal herbs in the area. The experiment was a success. With just a thought, he could directly control his storage ring. Collecting and storing items at the same time was way more convenient. Later on, he could even use it to snatch things out of thin air during a fight. It would be an unexpected way to win, but it was a shame he didn't have a beast taming skill. If he did, he could directly control monsters, instead of just controlling soulless things like these herbs. And over here was the corpse of Lu Yunshuang. The system announced that the guy had been killed by a beast. Noticing he had the skill, Flame Wall, our hero decided to try extracting it. And just like that, he obtained the guy's D-rank skill. He finally had a high damage ability. Once he got stronger, he wouldn't have to fight up close anymore. Blasting enemies with fire from a distance would be freaking awesome. Just then, Qin Feng's stomach started to growl. It was the perfect chance to test his new skill, and there just happened to be a wild boar nearby. Qin Feng cooked himself a hearty meal of roasted pork. As usual, he scrolled through the chat channel while he ate. Everyone seemed pretty lively, mostly talking about leveling up. They were all gloating about moving up in the ranks due to Qin Feng's sudden disappearance. He was currently in an alternate dimension, so he had only temporarily vanished from the leaderboard. Whatever, time to eat. He carved up the meat and recovered a ton of stamina. A notification popped up. Newbie Qin Feng has discovered a minor life skill. Eating roasted meat can rapidly restore stamina. As the first person to discover this, he was awarded 1 reputation point. Everyone was stunned by the announcement. It was so simple. They'd never thought of it before, but you had to cook the meat to eat it. Eating it raw would give you a serious case of the runs. So, everyone scrambled to the market to buy fire or cooked food. Qin Feng also took this opportunity to make some trades. He offered them his cooked meat, 3 pounds of roasted meat for 1 beast corpse, and they happily made the trade. To them, the beast corpses were completely useless. Right now, food was the only thing that mattered. Because of this, he gained a ton of attribute points from refining the beast corpses. This was perfect. From now on, he wouldn't have to spend all day hunting. Everyone else was now working for him. Some shameless guy sent Qin Feng a direct message, saying he was also a level 3 newbie. His name was ranked 1 spot above our hero. So, he wanted our hero to give him 6 pounds of meat as a greeting gift. But our protagonist couldn't care less. He replied, "I've got some for you, all right. In your dreams." Qin Feng's message in the chat got everyone fired up. Limited supply of roasted meat. First come, first served. If you're slow, you get nothing, people. Everyone was thrilled to see him back and rushed to find beast corpses to trade for meat. Qin Feng smirked. He was definitely the king of this area now. Meanwhile, some bald dude tried to steal his business model. He was also selling roasted meat, 50 pounds for a piece of level 1 equipment. The guy had just started his business, and he was already getting played like this. But the price was ridiculous. No one was crazy enough to trade their equipment for meat. They were better off using their weapons to hunt beasts and trade for a better deal. So, they all stuck with Qin Feng. Not only was he selling meat, but he also had an abundant supply of level 1 newbie weapons. They were sold by a mysterious group for a fixed price, in exchange for 3 spirit herbs or 1 spirit fruit. Everyone was incredibly excited. At the same time, they were curious who this godlike person was, who seemed to have everything. And soon enough, someone used a bracelet to trade for the steel sword he was selling. It increased strength by 7, and as it happened, he needed a bracelet. Now he had a storage ring, a level 2 wolf's blood blade, and a level 1 strength bracelet. 3 pieces of equipment in total. Probably no one in the entire village could compare to him. Suddenly, a tremor shook the endless plains, throwing everyone into a panic. Emergency announcement. Newbie Village 137 has initiated a mandatory wager against Newbie Village 911. The wager resources are now open, and the terms of this bet are, whichever village produces the highest level player will be the victor. Looks like a cross-server war has just started, folks. At the same time, a chat channel was opened, linking the 2 villages. Our protagonist felt the penalty for losing this bet was way too high. He had no idea what Village 137 was thinking. With the 2 village chats merged, just like a server merge in an online game, everyone was in chaos. Both sides claimed their village was superior. A young man dressed like a vampire was being called a certain name by the people of Village 137. My Lord Baron. He was already a level 4 powerhouse, probably the strongest person here. He had intentionally chosen to start this wager at night, because nighttime was when his blood clan was at its strongest. He could single-handedly fight a level 4 beast. Qin Feng was shocked when he saw him. This guy was a vampire from the blood clan, and he seemed incredibly powerful. Meanwhile, his village 911 was full of newbies, and the game had begun. The system announced that the map for beasts from level 1 to 10 was now fully unlocked. Qin Feng felt a little worried. It started with newbie villages fighting each other, but would it later escalate into conflicts between nations? Or even continents? But no matter what, he figured the most important thing right now were the resources at stake in this wager between the 2 newbie villages. That Baron guy could solo a level 4 beast. Although his leveling speed was faster than others in his village, it was still slower than his. If he wanted to reach level 5 as fast as possible, he'd probably have to head to a high-level area to hunt some beasts. So, Qin Feng tore through the night. With his super-enhanced vision, he could see everything as if it were broad daylight. On top of that, his enhanced sense of smell and increased speed allowed him to track beasts hidden in the darkness, and also to get away fast. He was quick to bail when he ran into anything too strong. Our boy made it to the level 4 beast territory, moving like a shadow. The blade in his hand flew out, grievously wounding some jungle cats, when suddenly, a golden eye appeared to block his path. And he sent that thing to the butcher's block too. This one was a level 5 golden-eyed gourd fiend with an 8-star combat power, and it jumped out to ambush him. His speed was just too insane. A slight oversight from his enhanced sense of smell was the only reason it got the drop on him, but luckily, it was only a level 5 beast. This was also the first time he'd ever encountered a humanoid beast. Could it be that beasts at level 5 and above were no longer purely animalistic, and were beginning to evolve into human-like forms? Qin Feng caught a familiar scent on the wind and made a guess. Could there be a spiritual herb or fruit nearby? And up ahead was the territory of level 6 beasts. High-level demon beasts meant high-level spiritual fruits. He wondered if he'd find any lurking monsters there, beasts that looked even more human. If he ran into a pack of spiritual beasts like those walking corpses, he'd be in for a world of trouble. Qin Feng decided to stop overthinking it and just find the fruit first. Where there's a spiritual fruit, there's bound to be a beast guarding it. Take down the beast. then take the fruit, kill 2 birds with 1 stone. He headed over and found a level 6 berserker bear king standing guard over a dragon's blood fruit tree. This bear had a 60% chance to go berserk and a 12-star attack power. He didn't need to think twice to know this was going to be a tough fight. The bear quickly noticed Qin Feng's presence, and it swatted him away with a single swipe. He never expected a beast that huge to be so fast. He had absolutely no chance to dodge. The 3-headed bear seemed surprisingly merciful. It told him to leave, and it would spare his life. But Qin Feng wasn't the type to run away from a treasure. He shot back. "How about you get lost, and I'll spare you?" Seeing a mere level 4 human talk so big, the 3-headed bear flew into a rage and charged, its claws clashing against Qin Feng's blade and making him tremble from the force. He leaped back to dodge its thunderous swipes, then jumped up high and brought his blade down on its left head. It went even crazier after Qin Feng lopped one of its heads off. He also realized its neck was even tougher than he'd imagined. He had to pour all his strength into the blow just to cut through. With one head down, the bear entered a berserk state. It roared, letting out a dragon's cry. Qin Feng recognized it, but thought the power behind it was pretty weak. It had probably just been around the dragon's blood fruit for so long that it picked up a hint of dragon-like nature. He jumped up and swung his blade down at it again, but the bear was already in a full-blown frenzy. Its defense was even stronger now, and his blade barely even scratched it. And the bear's counterattack was so fast that Qin Feng, still reeling, had no way to dodge. It lunged forward, planning to give Qin Feng a big, wet kiss with its sharp teeth. He immediately channeled fire energy into his blood wolf blade, shattering the bear's attack and its defense along with it. The bear took a massive hit, so severe that Qin Feng thought it had finally kicked the bucket. But then he remembered the system hadn't announced the kill. The cunning bear was playing dead to lure him in, but he realized it just in time to dodge its final attack. At the same time, he swung his flaming blood blade and sent its remaining heads flying. And only then did the system announce that he had defeated the Berserker Bear King. He received 500 experience points and, for his first time killing a level 6 king beast, he got 2 reputation points. His accumulated reputation was now at 6. He also received a bronze chest for defeating the 3-headed bear. Qin Feng immediately opened the chest and got a level 2 item, the Bear King's battle armor, which increased his defense by 25, and even added fire and water resistance. This thing was a top-tier piece of level 2 equipment. He also harvested its ability with his SSS-rank skill, obtaining the E-rank skill, Bloodline Enhancement. This skill awakens the power of one's bloodline, increasing all stats by 30%. And Qin Feng didn't forget the most important thing here, the dragon's blood fruit that the bear was protecting. He tried one of the fruits, and suddenly, his body felt incredibly strange. A massive dragon appeared and snatched him up. It squeezed him in its grip, making Qin Feng scream in agony. In his panic, he told himself it was all just an illusion. He had just eaten a single dragon's blood fruit. Did it really think it could subdue him with a mere illusion? Qin Feng bit down hard on the dragon's hand, drawing blood. The dragon cried out in pain, "Are you crazy?" It insisted it was a real dragon and could teach him the true dragon's secret manual, dragon's sword chi, and all sorts of other techniques. It begged Qin Feng to stop biting, but he ignored it and continued tearing into its flesh. And just like that, Qin Feng broke free from the illusion and returned to reality. The medicinal power of the dragon's blood fruit had been successfully absorbed. He received 5 points for all his stats and awakened the power of the blood dragon. Now he was only 10 experience points away from level 5. His stats on the system panel were looking insane now. After eating the dragon's blood fruit, he felt a warmth spread throughout his entire body. He really wanted to take a nap, but he still hadn't hit level 5 yet. He just needed to kill one more beast, and then he could finally level up. The resource bet began, and he pulled up the rankings to see how strong the others were. That vampire guy was already halfway through the level 4 experience bar. The people with him were ecstatic, showering him with flattery. He assumed those nobodies from village 911 were all still at level 3, but they were all stunned when they received a notification that beginner village 911 had already advanced to level 5. Village 911 had won the bet. He now held all the cards. It wouldn't be like this time, where he had to rush into this high-level beast zone to kill monsters. He agreed to the trade, sensing the guy had a specific reason for wanting to exchange this particular item with him. Not only was the token's activation restricted, but the penalty for the one who initiated the challenge was also doubled. After this, Qin Feng was hailed as a god by everyone, and he had to admit, the feeling was absolutely incredible. The feeling of being number 1 on the server. He said they would wait until daytime, when everyone had recovered to their peak condition, before starting the bet. Everyone enthusiastically supported Qin Feng's decision, focusing their minds and preparing for the upcoming battle. He wasn't delaying because he was tired. With his stamina, he could go 3 days and 3 nights without sleep. No problem. His real plan was to infiltrate the most dangerous place of all, the level 10 beast zone. And only then would he activate the bet. Level 10 beasts were dangerous, but they also provided the highest power stats. It was the fastest way to level up, and it would make his victory even more certain. Qin Feng was already on his way to the high-level zone. Along the way, he casually cleared out some mid-level monsters. But something here felt strange, because even using his olfactory talent, he couldn't smell a single trace of a beast. He had no idea what was going on. According to the map, this was the right place. Suddenly, the ground where Qin Feng was standing collapsed, alarming him. He hadn't felt any strange vibrations just moments before. It was as if it just appeared out of nowhere. There were no walls around him to push off of. Qin Feng knew he had to find a way to stop his fall, otherwise he'd be smashed to a pulp. Even if he didn't die, he'd be crippled. He did a flip and unleashed flames from his entire body to stabilize himself in the air. And just like that, he was hovering. This must be the high-level beast zone below. He could already feel their presence. Powerful beasts, the likes of which he had never encountered before. The area was also filled with the overwhelming stench of rotting corpses. The smell was so strong, it made it impossible for him to pinpoint the location of the level 10 beast. This place looked a lot like his old beginner village. He guessed this place was once some other beginner village that had been destroyed. If you failed your mission, this was the fate that awaited you. Suddenly, a voice that sounded like it came from hell itself echoed, telling Qin Feng, "Human, this is not a place you should be." The voice came from a troop of dog-headed soldiers. The leader said they were the soldiers who protected this place. Whether it was a beast or a human, anyone who trespassed here would meet the same end, death. Qin Feng was terrified. After using his vision skill to examine them, he saw they were Hell Soldier evil spirits, all of them above level 15. The system couldn't investigate any further. He had no idea how to get out of this bizarre space. His only choice was to try and fight his way out. He hoped the level 4 weapon he got from the silver chest would be useful. Qin Feng drew his blade, his eyes flashing with determination. The dogman realized he had no intention of leaving and immediately charged forward. It sent just one of its soldiers to engage him. The dog creature sliced through the small rocks, flying toward Qin Feng. He activated his flame blade and leaped across the stones to dodge the attack. But the moment he landed, the monster had already hurled its spear at him. Qin Feng quickly jumped high into the air, simultaneously activating all his self-buffing skills and using his blade to block the spear. The group of dogmen below watched the fight, admitting this human wasn't ordinary, but they still thought he was weak. Their leader could handle 4 guys like him, but the soldier fighting seemed to be having a tough time against Qin Feng. Still, the power of a creature above level 15 was not to be underestimated. Qin Feng swung a massive slash, but the creature dodged it. It knocked him to the ground and quickly pinned him under its foot, its voice dripping with contempt. Its minions behind it cheered gleefully. But in that moment of carelessness, Qin Feng unleashed a powerful punch that sent the dogman flying. And in an instant, he drove his blade straight through its body. It was too fast, too deadly. The minions couldn't even process what had just happened. How could their leader have been defeated so quickly? Qin Feng took down the dogman and began absorbing its power. He couldn't afford to waste a single second, especially after he gained his talents for mind control and necromancy. Defeating the dogman earned him a huge amount of evil spirit points, awakened the Hellfire talent, and upgraded his judge title to level 2. After slaying the Hell Soldier, a fragment of a dark seal dropped. Luckily, he had previously honed his swordsmanship through countless hardships, training himself through hell and back. He had finally mastered a bit of it, and in that critical moment, he used that very skill to take down the hound in an instant. It was completely caught off guard. Seeing their leader killed, the Hell Soldiers below were furious and wanted to charge forward to avenge their boss. But they decided the time wasn't right. Qin Feng found this strange. They weren't reacting as he'd expected. Their comrade was killed, yet they acted as if nothing had happened. Could he have not finished it off? But that was impossible. The system had already confirmed his successful kill. Suddenly, a familiar voice rang out. "Looking for me, little brat?" A terrified Qin Feng spun around to see the hound he'd just killed, alive and well, already condensing a sphere of power in its mouth. It fired with incredible speed, and Qin Feng had to use all his strength to dodge it. The immense power caused a huge explosion where it landed. Qin Feng still couldn't believe it. He had clearly received loot from it already. The Hound leader seemed to know what Qin Feng was thinking. He gloated, assuming the Eye of Truth had probably already told Qin Feng their name, Hell Soldiers. This meant they all came from Hell, which also meant that they couldn't die. The other hounds decided not to let their leader fight one-on-one anymore. They had to finish this human, and fast. They all entered a combat stance, but Qin Feng wasn't afraid in the slightest. They're just a bunch of dogs. What's with the arrogance? He activated all his buffing skills and charged at the hellhounds with his flaming sword. Suddenly, the light of the sun appeared. It seemed dawn was breaking. The hounds called out to their leader that it was time to go. The leader sent Qin Feng flying into a tree with a single swing of its spear, and then they all stepped through the Hell Gate. A notification popped up. The tens of thousands of novice villages on Blue Star have lost connection. Connection will be restored when night falls. Disappearing before the next morning, Qin Feng realized what this meant. It also meant that only those with the Dark Seal had the chance to enter this place. Those damn Hell Soldiers, he thought. Just wait until I'm strong enough. I'll be back for you. But it was one thing after another. A massive worm suddenly appeared from nowhere behind our main character. He used his inspection skill and saw it was a level 12 Earth Chariot worm with a 15-star combat rating. And it wasn't alone, there was a whole swarm. Just then, a village announcement came through. 2 people in this novice village had reached level 5. After doubling the resources, the leveling speed of the villagers had increased significantly. It was much faster than he had anticipated, and 1,000 novice villagers were divided into one zone. An announcement began. Linking Zone 1. Regional channel successfully linked. Novice Village 911 is linked village number 47. And the chat channel once again erupted into chaos. Everyone was boasting that their village had more experts. Meanwhile, Village 911 was ranked only 47th, causing the others to look down on them. After a series of cringy arguments from the keyboard warriors, Village 446 initiated a forced bet, compelling Village 911 to participate. The first novice village, whose champion reaches level 8, wins. Meanwhile, Qin Feng was diligently farming worms, continuously raking in experience points. Paying no mind to the online flame wars, Qin Feng reached level 8 first after a short amount of time. He had won the bet for Village 911. What a bunch of arrogant fools, digging their own graves. He was only a little ways from level 8, yet they dared to challenge him. The people of Village 911 had no idea what was going on. How could they have won so quickly? It must have been Qin Feng who won. But the resource bet only started a few hours ago. That guy is a monster among monsters. Once again, everyone praised Qin Feng to the heavens. At the same time, Novice Village 466 was hit with a massive slap to the face. They couldn't understand how the hell they lost so fast and were absolutely furious. How could we lose to those people from the Dragon Country? On top of that, they lost half their resources. Because of this, many of them wouldn't be able to pass the novice trial. Furious, their leader wanted revenge. He went into the regional channel to call for allies. They all hated the Dragon Country people. He figured they would all help his village get revenge. And as expected, many factions received his call for help. And they learned about Qin Feng. There were many powerful figures, like a saintess with an S-rank skill, and the young man from the Arctic region, Miyamoto, from Novice Village 501, a ninja with an A-rank talent who was also the first person in his zone to reach level 8. Qin Feng couldn't care less. He was now in a desert. He wished he had a water or ice-type talent. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to stay here much longer. He knew that only the first person to complete the novice trial would get the gold chest. But completing the C-rank mission could earn him a high-grade dark gold treasure chest. This mission was a bit difficult, but since it had no time limit, he decided to activate the mission now, and a notification appeared. Congratulations, Village 911 has met the corresponding conditions. Mission channel activated. C-rank mission. Break the 5 elements seal. Collect all 5 types of monarch cores: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Find the 5 elements altar at Dragon's End Slope and break the sealing barrier of Novice Village 911. After the seal is broken, the villagers can enter the wider world, ahead of all other novice villages in the zone. Completing missions allows entry into the main world, and Qin Feng guessed that whichever village got there first would have a massive advantage in securing resources. He first looked at the 2 suggested missions. One was to head to the central lilac grasslands to hunt the Mammoth King and obtain its Earth-type King's Core. The second mentioned that the Mammoth King was the weakest of its kind, suitable for a party of 20 or more powerhouses at level 10 and above. He figured that, at the current leveling speed of everyone in the novice village, it would take at least 5 days to gather 20 level 10 powerhouses. The White Mist Desert wasn't far from the Lilac grasslands. He wanted to scout out the situation first. On his way, he suddenly encountered a blonde girl being chased by a level 12 raging mammoth. Just as the beast was about to land the finishing blow, Qin Feng appeared like a god to save her. It only took him a few minutes to deal with the mammoth for her. Qin Feng also wondered why a girl like her was in a level 10 beast zone, and where were her teammates. The girl trembled as she explained that they were killed, eaten. But it was terrifying. There was blood everywhere. She shakingly grabbed Qin Feng's hand and begged him, could he save them? They were all captured by that mammoth. Those monsters said they would eat them tonight. The mammoths. Hearing this, Qin Feng told the girl to leave first, and he would think of a way to rescue them. But the girl wanted to help. Qin Feng thought that with her level, she couldn't possibly do anything. The girl said they love eating human flesh, so she could act as bait. Even though she was scared, they were her friends, her teammates. Seeing her resolve, Qin Feng agreed to go with her to save them. Meanwhile, Lei Kuei's group had been tied up and were being treated to a free dance performance by some snake women. These mammoths sure know how to live it up, huh? They were eagerly preparing to feast on human flesh by the bonfire. The leader complained that with only 6 humans, it was hardly enough for a snack. They were still waiting for their buddies to bring back more. Following Qin Feng's orders, the girl acted as bait, while he blinded the mammoths with the venom he'd collected from the 10 transformation serpent. It worked like a charm. The hellfire on his blade easily broke through the mammoth's defense, and he took them down with ease. He even let the girl kill a few to gain some experience and level up. The raging mammoth's weak spot is their neck. As long as you can restrict their movement, even a level 4 person could kill one. Suddenly, a group of mammoths discovered their fallen comrades and came charging over with axes. Seeing this, Qin Feng just smiled. New test subjects have arrived. He had already set up traps here, and when the mammoths ran into the area, it transformed into a field of sharp spikes that shot up and slaughtered them. Qin Feng had anticipated that some mammoths would notice their kind missing and come searching, so he had set up ambushes on all 4 sides. Now that they were all here, they would all become tools for him to level up. A massive wave of experience points flowed into Qin Feng. After all, these were formidable level 12 monsters. Only one mammoth remained unharmed. It was a mutated variant, with a combat power assessment of up to 21 stars. It frantically generated a layer of lightning around its body and swung its axe at Qin Feng. He used his blade to block the frenzied attack, feeling that this strike was a whole level stronger than the others. After just one exchange, his blade was already trembling. Qin Feng leaped up to dodge a slash and unleashed a wave of blade energy at the mammoth. It was tough, but not so tough that it couldn't be broken. That one slash injured the mammoth. It became even more enraged, unleashing its power throughout its entire body, and its wound healed instantly. Qin Feng was very interested in this ability. Self-healing. If he could get his hands on that, it would be awesome. He eagerly stepped forward to attack it once his passive was fully stacked. Qin Feng unleashed Phantom Slash combined with Demonic Wind Wave, striking the mammoth from all sides. He struck 75 times, landing 60 hits, 5 of which were criticals. 15 were major wounds, 30 were medium wounds, and 10 were minor. The minor wounds healed extremely fast, almost instantly. Medium wounds took 1 to 2 seconds to heal. Major wounds took 3 seconds, and the critical wounds, which should have only taken 5 seconds, now took 15. Qin Feng concluded that the more wounds it needed to heal, the slower its recovery ability became. It was probably reaching its limit. Just as the mammoth began to feel fear, Qin Feng's excitement peaked. He activated his blade's Hellfire mode, adding 100 points of damage, and lunged forward, unleashing a powerful slash at the mammoth. Qin Feng was overwhelmingly powerful. He lopped off the mammoth's head with a single, ruthless slash. For successfully killing the level 12 mutated mammoth, he received 1,700 experience points and 3 reputation points. Elsewhere, the Mammoth King received news that all of its guards had been killed and became enraged. Meanwhile, Qin Feng was frantically trying everything he could, but he still couldn't acquire the mutated mammoth's self-healing skill. He racked his brain but couldn't figure out why. Then, an idea struck him. If he couldn't get it from the underling, he would just go kill its king and take the skill the proper way. Hearing that, even the girl was frightened by Qin Feng's power. The two of them arrived at the main mammoth camp, where there were at least 30 of the mammoth men. She said worriedly, "Qin Feng, even if you're strong, you'll still get hurt. I suggest we quietly rescue Lei Kuei's group and then use the teleportation gate to go back." In the novice village, those elephant men couldn't enter the teleportation gate. Meanwhile, Qin Feng was applying snake venom to his blade. He wanted to slaughter every last one of these elephant men, treating them like worthless mobs to level up. Looking around, the current situation seemed highly advantageous for dealing with them. If he could just ambush the two elephant men from the deep forest, he could rescue the others without a sound. It seemed lucky, convenient even, but Qin Feng suspected it was a trap. They were deliberately leaving their defenses lax to lure others out, pretending to be lost in their revelry, just to trick him into revealing himself. The girl thought they were just vicious beasts, but the higher a beast's level, the greater its intelligence. They would know how to use schemes. Underestimating them could lead to a pointless death. But even if it was a trap, Qin Feng was still determined to turn these elephants into EXP. He told the girl to hide and watch him work his magic. Qin Feng then stepped confidently onto the battlefield. The elephant men noticed his arrival, completely surprised. They couldn't believe he actually dared to show up. They assumed their elephant king would make short work of him, so they formed two lines, creating a path for Qin Feng to walk through. He didn't show the slightest bit of fear. What was there to be afraid of? The elephant men figured that since he looked so scrawny, he must have used some despicable tricks to kill their warriors. Qin Feng shot them a look brimming with killing intent. He unleashed his energy while taunting them. "A bunch of weaklings like you dare to talk trash behind my back?" The Elephant King was on his throne, with a beautiful snake woman wrapped around each arm. Qin Feng sized him up as he spoke. His combat power was only 6 stars higher than his own. His strength was actually lower than imagined. He had thought the Elephant King would be on par with the Hellhound captain. His combat assessment was only 25 stars. The Elephant King narrowed his eyes, saying he didn't want to bully the weak. But Qin Feng had killed 14 of his subjects, one of whom was a general he deeply trusted. Qin Feng sensed the Elephant King had deliberately set this up to lure him out. Surely it wasn't just about killing him for revenge, right? The king found Qin Feng a bit interesting and told him to submit and become his subordinate. He wouldn't just pardon his crimes, but would also make him a general. Vicious beasts, spirit herbs, food, women, anything he desired would be his. He would be the happiest human in the world. Our hero found this monster pretty amusing, daring to invite a human to join a clan of vicious beasts. This Elephant King wasn't dumb. He asked him, "I've heard that in the great world, the strong are as common as clouds. They can ride the winds, move mountains, fill seas, and even destroy heaven and earth with their bare hands. Is that true?" The Elephant King was taken aback. He figured only a celestial being could accomplish such feats. Qin Feng realized the Elephant King was nothing more than a frog in a well. He drew his blade, now glowing with the green hue of hellfire. He stepped forward, pointed his sword at the Elephant King, and said, "Beat me first. Then you can talk about being my boss." Meanwhile, the defeated champion from Village 446, who had lost to Qin Feng, had managed to contact Miyamoto. That ninja had heard the news about Qin Feng. He believed that Qin Feng would definitely become a top-tier expert in Sector 1. With an A-rank talent, he decided to help the guy from Village 446 get his revenge. He took out a wager token and crushed it. An urgent notification activated the wager for Novice Village 5. It forcibly linked with Novice Village 911 to begin a resource bet. The challenge this time, whichever village's champion reached level 9 first would win the wager. Back on the battlefield, our hero was still going all out in his one-on-one with the Elephant King. His armor was just too tough. He had landed continuous physical attacks, but they didn't seem to have any effect. Qin Feng knew this was bad. If he couldn't even injure the Elephant King, he wouldn't be able to tell if he had a self-healing skill like that elephant general did. The Elephant King, wielding 2 sickles, unleashed a series of incredibly powerful attacks toward Qin Feng, forcing him to activate his protective shield just to barely block them. Then, in a flash, the Elephant King swung again, shattering his shield and sending Qin Feng flying into a rock behind him. He coughed up a huge amount of blood from the immense damage. His Earth-type shield, refined from the Mammoth General, couldn't even withstand a single blow. The Elephant King was incredibly surprised to see that he had an Earth-type talent. He noted it was just like his elephant subordinates, and arrogantly renewed his offer to make Qin Feng his lackey. Hearing this just ticked Qin Feng off, but luckily, he had an escape plan. He turned and declared loudly, "I'll be your master. That works for me." Then, with a wave of his hand, he commanded sharp spikes to erupt from the ground and surround the Elephant King. But the king was no slouch. He could also control the earth element. He easily shattered the earthen spikes Qin Feng created, then manipulated the ground himself, causing Qin Feng to sink rapidly into a mud pit. A whirlpool of earth formed where Qin Feng stood, pulling him down. He struggled desperately as the sand and mud dragged him under, wrapping around his body. Only then did Qin Feng realize this Elephant King was a truly tough opponent. He used all his strength to stop himself from being pulled down completely, then quickly activated his telekinesis skill. Just as the sand spikes were about to pierce him, they froze solid. Qin Feng let out a faint sigh of relief. He was a hair's breadth from death. But before he could catch his breath, the Elephant King lunged at him with its scythes. Qin Feng quickly leaped out of the way, simultaneously launching a barrage of sharp spikes down at the Elephant King's position. Although it activated its protective armor to block the attack, his spikes were imbued with hellfire, which could reduce its defenses. But the Elephant King was incredibly fast, swatting him away. Still, the beast reeled in pain from the hit. It couldn't understand what could possibly pierce through its defenses like that. Just then, Qin Feng summoned his hellfire once more. This time, he was all in. After a massive roar, a gigantic fireball shot towards the Elephant King. It tried to block with its twin scythes, but it was useless. The stream of fire blasted right through, completely shattering the elephant's defenses. Normally, people would rest to recover. But, in critical situations, you can consume spirit herbs and spirit fruits directly. This provides an instant stat boost. The girl immediately went on the chat channel, begging everyone to help Qin Feng. Everyone, we need spirit herbs and spirit fruits, now. Otherwise, he's going to die. People quickly saw her message. They were also worried sick about Qin Feng, because if he died, they'd have no one to lead them in gathering resources anymore. They didn't want to lose any future bets, so using the positioning system, they sent him a ton of spirit herbs and fruits. The sudden influx of resources completely shocked Qin Feng. But the Elephant King was even more stunned. The beast had no idea what was happening. It paused its attack, and in that moment, Qin Feng grabbed a spirit fruit and devoured it. His stats began to recover at an incredible speed. Just as the Elephant King swung its scythes for the killing blow, Qin Feng erupted in a shroud of hellfire. His strength had recovered significantly. He leaped up, his blade blazing with fiery energy, and charged head-on to meet the Elephant King. By now, the Elephant King's stamina was nowhere near what it was at the start of the fight, and it was quickly put on the defensive. Qin Feng placed a hand on its chest and unleashed his hellfire. The surge of power tore painfully through its chest. In the blink of an eye, Qin Feng had defeated the Elephant King. Its underlings, who had been watching from the side, couldn't believe it. How did this guy turn a losing battle into a victory so quickly? Just a moment ago, the Elephant King clearly had the upper hand. After the Elephant King was defeated, he obtained a beast-type king's heart from its body, along with countless other items. With 4,000 experience points, he shot straight up to level 9 and helped Village 911 win the resource bet. The remaining young elephants went on a crazed rampage, seeking revenge. Their sheer numbers made them the perfect mob for our hero to farm. He quickly allocated his newly acquired stat points. His stat sheet was absolutely insane, with a 23-star rating. The feeling of his power surging made Qin Feng feel incredibly refreshed, not a bit tired after the intense battle. He began to slaughter the elephants one by one. The elephant high priest ordered its minions to surround him. It waited until Qin Feng was busy with the elephants in front of him before sneaking up for a surprise attack. It didn't believe he could fight against hundreds of warriors. Qin Feng used his hellfire to take down the elephant mob, but he noticed the mammoth priest was directing them and decided to take it out first. He instantly shot towards it like a rocket, terrifying the priest. Qin Feng swung his blade in a powerful arc right at it. Another elephant quickly rushed in to take the blow for its master. Qin Feng found this controllability rather interesting. He wondered if the mammoth priest had the ability to control beasts. The elephant that blocked the attack died instantly. Terrified, the priest summoned a few more to block his path, then turned to flee. "You think you can run?" Qin Feng threw his blade like a boomerang, sending the mammoth priest to join its master, the Elephant King, in the afterlife. With only these small fries left, he'd finish them all in one shot. Qin Feng slammed his fist into the ground, summoning his hellfire. The flames shot forward, turning the elephant herd into a barbecue. A shower of experience points, along with bronze and silver chests, fell into his hands. Seeing Qin Feng's overwhelming power, the blonde girl and the Thunderhorns couldn't believe their eyes. Was this guy even human? He was even more overpowered than a game admin. Once Qin Feng untied them, the whole group immediately bowed. "Great one. Please accept these gifts from us." Overwhelmed with gratitude, they took out their own spirit fruits and herbs to offer him. They assumed Qin Feng wouldn't care for such things, but he thought they weren't half bad and decided to accept them. He placed the items into his storage ring and turned to leave. He warned the Thunderhorns that they shouldn't stay here, because this was a very dangerous area, the territory of a level 10 beast. They were incredibly grateful and looked at him as if he were a god. They saw Qin Feng as the savior of Village 911. The blonde girl, in particular, was completely smitten with him. She told herself that even though they were only together for a short time, she knew he was destined to become the strongest. In the future, he would go to places that ordinary people like her could never hope to reach. But she would always admire him from afar and hope to see him again. Meanwhile, Qin Feng continued on his journey. He still wasn't sure how to handle these two gorgeous snake women. The girls trembled, explaining they were just dancers who had never harmed a human, and begged him to spare their lives. Qin Feng used his appraisal skill and saw they were just level 10 snake women, but their combat power was stronger than he'd anticipated. So, Qin Feng simply asked them if they had any interesting skills. But their answer nearly knocked him out: the enchanting dance and their flexible waists. Just the thought of it was enough to make his head spin. Unbelievable. First, he wanted to turn in the 5 Elements quest, then sort through his loot and check out the location for his next mission. Along the way, he checked the chat and saw that the villages who lost the resource bet were now slandering him, claiming he was a hacker. These bastards wouldn't learn until they're staring at their own coffins. This time, Qin Feng was going to make sure they remembered his name. He took out the betting token and activated it. There were 2 options: a one-on-one duel or a faction battle. Qin Feng planned on teaching those guys a lesson they'd never forget. He chose faction battle, intending to take on their entire group by himself. A notification popped up, reminding him that he was the one initiating the wager. If he failed, the penalty would be multiplied, but if he won, the rewards would be multiplied as well. After some consideration, Qin Feng selected the blue faction as the enemy, which included villages 5, 4, 6, 6, and number 21. The red faction, his side, consisted of villages 9, 1, 1, 34, and 77. Once the selection was complete, the system sent out a server-wide announcement. Qin Feng from Village 911 has activated the wager token. The first ever faction battle has officially begun. The rules of the wager were simple. Points were only awarded for solo monster kills. Team kills wouldn't count. The first side to accumulate 1,000 points would win. And of course, killing higher-level monsters awarded more points. Everyone in the entire world was stunned when they received the announcement. The people from Village 911, however, were thrilled. Boss Qin's move was absolutely brilliant. This was their chance to make a name for themselves and put those other villages in their place. They had complete faith in Qin Feng. But then, a problem arose. The 3 original villages on the blue team had a ton of allies, and they immediately pulled in another 21 villages to join them. That brought their total to 24. Meanwhile, the red team still only had 3. A 3 versus 24 battle. The odds were ridiculously stacked against them. Over on the enemy side, the ninja in red was convinced he'd finally get his revenge. There was no way 3 villages could fight against 24. He swore that if he failed again, he'd chop off his family jewels and end it all. Time ticked by, and with just 10 minutes left until the official start, the wager countdown began. Meanwhile, Qin Feng was busy using all the resources he had just acquired on himself. There were tons of items to boost his stats, new skills he'd gotten from the armored elephants, and even new boots and gauntlets. He even opened a silver treasure chest and got the 4 Realms Fire Spirit, an item that doubled his fire resistance. His fire affinity talent evolved to C rank, becoming the true meaning of fire. With all his new gear, he could feel his power had increased significantly. His combat rating had already jumped to 28 stars. As for his skills, he now had way too many. But with 1 new C rank and 3 new D rank skills, Qin Feng felt he was in a pretty good spot. Now it was time to challenge a king-level beast. That would be the fastest way to rack up points. At the same time, he still had the D-rank quest to break the 5 Elements seal. He'd already obtained the Heart of Earth, so now he was headed to the Liluo Plains west of Yiju Mountain to slay the gold-devouring Ant Queen and get the Heart of Metal. It was a level 13 king beast, and the system recommended a party of 40 level 10 experts to take it down. Qin Feng thought that was some serious overkill. Could the gold-devouring Ant Queen really be twice as strong as the Elephant King? If that was the case, he needed to prepare a little. Poison is one of the greatest equalizers in human history. With it, a weak woman can kill a strong man, and a single person can wipe out an entire army. Some call poison the weapon of the weak, but others believe that any weapon that can defeat an enemy is a useful one. The poison ricin, extracted from castor beans, is one of the 10 great poisons. It's 6,000 times more toxic than arsenic, and less than a gram is enough to be fatal. The moment he saw the castor beans on the snake women's heads, a plan formed in his mind. And just like that, He successfully extracted the toxin. He had enough of this poison to kill 200 or 300 monsters. He decided to try mixing the snake venom and the ricin together to see if he could create something even more potent. After a few seconds, the two substances merged, creating a new, unnamed poison with an extremely toxic effect. Qin Feng wasn't sure exactly what it did. If only something would show up for him to test it on. Suddenly, an unlucky level 10 white tiger wandered into his path. You could just tell by the look on its face that this poor thing was doomed. Of all the people to run into, it just had to be Qin Feng, right when he needed a test subject. He lunged forward, taunted the big cat, and applied the poison. It dropped dead in an instant. Just a single drop was enough to kill a level 10 demonic beast. This stuff was absolutely insane. Finding this incredibly interesting, Qin Feng decided to craft a bit more before heading to Yiju Mountain to unleash hell. And so, Qin Feng set off. Along the way, he came across a mountain of ore. He collected some and then noticed a group of ants transporting the stones. These ants looked puny, but they were actually level 12 with a 16-star combat rating. Seeing them struggling to carry the stones, our hero decided to lend a hand by picking up rocks and throwing them. He also took the opportunity to test out his metal sensing and metal control abilities. His earth elemental ability unleashed sharp iron spikes from the ground, slaughtering the ants. The attack power was insane, but it also drained a ton of his energy. In just a few minutes, he had nearly wiped out the entire ant colony. These things were known for being suicidally stubborn. If you didn't pierce their brains with pinpoint accuracy, they would charge at you with everything they had. Not even severed limbs or being cut in half could stop them. He figured slaughtering them this way was just a waste of time. Using poison would have been much more convenient. But these giant ants were too spread out. With his current strength, he couldn't control the poison over such a wide area. There were still so many left, and he needed to figure out a way to gather them all in one place. He grabbed the head of one of the ants and landed on the ground below, shouting, "You damn ant punks, get over here and fight me." Seeing the head of their comrade, the ants were absolutely furious. They shrieked wildly and charged toward Qin Feng. Every last one of them went completely berserk. Qin Feng formed a ball of poison in his hand and hurled it down, creating a shower of acid rain. Wherever the poison fell, the ants dropped dead. A massive pile of experience points just fell right into his lap. So much, in fact, that Qin Feng was beyond ecstatic, the more the better, as it would help him win the bet that much faster. And suddenly, an ant appeared that was larger and looked completely different from the rest. He quickly used his analysis skill and saw it was a level 13 mutated metal-devouring general with a combat power of 23 stars. The final boss had finally arrived. Qin Feng's venom couldn't penetrate its eyes, rendering it useless. Now, he had to try a different approach. He summoned iron spikes that shot out from the cliff walls, skewering any ant that tried to climb up like a shish kebab. They were smart enough to spread out to disperse the iron spike attacks, but Qin Feng thought they were being naive. At such a close range, his control was already at the point of hitting every single target. But the ants weren't that stupid. They picked up rocks and continuously threw them up at him from below. It seems they were getting smarter. First, they shielded their eyes to avoid the poison, and now they were resorting to throwing rocks, making it harder for him to defend. As the stones kept flying up, Qin Feng felt a sense of unease. If the effectiveness of his long-range attacks was diminishing, then he would just switch to close-quarters combat. He had already summoned his blade, but suddenly, some damn ant managed to get up here and bite his leg. It turns out they were hiding among the rocks their comrades were throwing. But under the protection of the Great Dragon Elephant armor, the Mystic Crystal armor, and his self-healing ability, trying to injure him was just a pipe dream. Seriously, Qin Feng was hacking so hard, even a god-tier mage would bow down to him. He launched himself forward, his blade creating a blur of afterimages that shredded them to pieces. The ants charged even more frantically, trying to bite his arms with their mouths. Were they trying to overwhelm him with sheer numbers? They quickly gathered in huge numbers to surround him, creating a massive shockwave against his body. Enraged, Qin Feng unleashed his hellfire, blasting the ants off of him. "You want to mess with a hacker, huh?" With blue flames flashing in his eyes, Qin Feng leaped up and unleashed another massive wave of hellfire all around him. And, just like that, a huge amount of experience was added to his stats again. Qin Feng also found it strange. With all the commotion outside the cave, why hadn't the Ant Queen appeared yet? And then, from within the cave, a pair of eyes suddenly lit up. It made a grand entrance, but the moment it charged out, it was disemboweled by the iron spikes Qin Feng had set up. Holy crap, and I actually thought that was the queen. Qin Feng did a quick calculation. His score had already reached 800. The total score of Village 911 was 867, plus the points from villages 34 and 77. He guessed he would reach 1,000 very soon. Looking around this place, it seemed like almost all the ants had been sent to meet their maker. Qin Feng stepped inside the cave, creating a flame in his hand to light up the area. The air inside was damp, the ground was soft, and there was a scent like chocolate. He had read in a book once that when ants encounter danger, a gland on their head produces a chemical warning, releasing a scent similar to chocolate to alert other members of the colony. He figured they were all set to welcome him. Inside, there was an incredibly bizarre scene. A hot ant girl was laying eggs, and her subordinates were transporting the eggs from above down below. It seems the queen had finally arrived. Qin Feng now understood why she was ranked 5th among the 5 great beast kings. Her reproductive ability was insane, and her colony would fight to the death to protect her. Not even 10 mammoth kings would dare to challenge her. At that moment, an ant tried to sneak up on Qin Feng from behind. He casually sliced it in half. Just as he was sighing in relief for spotting the ambusher, the ant queen immediately blasted Qin Feng with a lion's roar. At the same time, she summoned the entire colony to target him. They looked at him with eyes full of hatred, and at the same time, countless eggs hatched into new antlings. Qin Feng found this incredibly interesting. The ants had been getting a large amount of refined iron from the mines, and he guessed that the giant ants' bodies were fitted with black iron armor. Very clever, extracting a huge amount of refined iron from the mine. Decked out in black armor, this ant queen was actually pretty impressive. She ordered her minions to attack at once. The underlings unleashed a volley of sharp arrows at him. Qin Feng twisted to dodge and decided to give them a taste of their own medicine. He resummoned the iron spikes to rain down on them, while simultaneously slashing wildly with his blade, which also found its mark. It didn't matter how many there were, they were just helping him level up. Qin Feng continuously unleashed his poison and sliced through the ants like a whirlwind. The ant queen was utterly stunned by this display, but she wasn't given much time to stand there gawking. Qin Feng had already finished off her lackeys. He leaped into the air, creating hellfire in both hands and hurling it at her. But the ant queen reacted quickly, spitting out something that looked like a wad of bubblegum. The moment it was airborne, it shot out a terrifying beam of energy. Qin Feng instinctively raised a hand to block it and was sent flying a great distance. It felt incredibly strange. The force wasn't that powerful, yet it had pushed him so far. Could it be an illusion? The thing that hit his hand was even eating away at his flesh. Qin Feng realized that the ball of light was highly corrosive formic acid. Even his strongest defensive crystal armor was being eaten away. This was the Ant Queen's real trump card, but unfortunately for her, she had run into him. Qin Feng summoned a massive amount of hellfire, compressing it into a power sphere and launching it at the Ant Queen. She retaliated by spitting out another wad of gum, and the two attacks collided. The point of impact created a massive shockwave as the two powerful forces clashed, sending rock and debris flying in every direction. Qin Feng quickly took advantage of her distraction, summoning his blade from his spatial ring. He rushed forward and slashed right through the Ant Queen's body. A single, power-packed strike sent her blood flying as she screamed in agony. "Go reunite with your subjects in hell." The Ant Queen fell, unable to accept her defeat. The moment she was defeated, a powerful light radiated outwards. Killed the level 13 Golden Guard Ant Queen, received 6,000 experience points, and obtained the core mission item, the Golden Monarch Core. At this point, he had already collected 2 cores for the mission map he had unlocked. The pace was unbelievably fast. Meanwhile, the Red Ninja was still diligently grinding mobs. His team calculated that his and the girl's points combined should be around 600 by now. They figured that at this rate, he wouldn't have to castrate himself after all. His team burst out laughing, completely confident that they had this match in the bag. Suddenly, before they could even close their mouths, an announcement struck them like a hammer blow. In this bet, the red team has reached 1,000 points first. The winning team is Qin Feng's team. Village number 5 has failed. All village members will have 50 attribute points deducted, and 70% of their resources will be removed. They were all completely blindsided by the punishment. How in the hell could the red team have won? Many of them had their points deducted into the negatives, becoming even more useless than trash. This girl's points dropped so low, her entire body became paralyzed, and she could only cry out to the Red Ninja for help. Seeing everyone lose felt like a knife twisting in his heart. Everything around him was the same, but the people had been broken. All he could do was bow his head and apologize to everyone. It looked like he really would have to castrate himself this time. Over on his side, Qin Feng was still relaxing after the battle. He didn't care much about the smaller ants, and didn't bother hunting them all down. The only thing on his mind right now was the reward from the bet. Just a few seconds later, countless rewards and attribute points flooded his screen. He didn't even notice when he had jumped to level 10. The system prompted him to open the public quest, Future Village Chief. Quest reward: the right to be appointed village chief and 1 golden treasure chest. The reward for the C-rank quest, Break the 5 Elements Seal, was a dark gold treasure chest. The D-rank quest reward and the reward for being the top player were actually the same. He decided to check out the details of the Future Village Chief quest. The objective was to head toward the level 10 area, or the Boneyard Desert, to find a lost village. Uncover the truth of the village, slay the demon, and become the village chief to begin the development of the novice village. Without a village chief, a novice village would be disbanded, and the novices would become vagrants, losing the protection of their starter cottages. Only with a chief could a novice village grow step by step. The village chief can lead the villagers to build up the village, developing it into a city, a territory, an empire, or even a divine realm. Qin Feng had a feeling that the Boneyard Desert and the Lost Village were referring to the place he'd stumbled into the night before, where he encountered the Hellhounds. As it turned out, he had already found the key to enter the Lost Village. Now, he just had to wait for nightfall to complete the quest. This was a golden opportunity, and he was definitely going to seize it. He was dead set on claiming the title of Novice Village Chief, but before heading in, Qin Feng wanted to prepare thoroughly. First, he used up all the rewards and attribute points he'd gained from the bet and from leveling up. He distributed the attribute points evenly across all his stats. This feeling of constantly growing stronger, it was absolutely exhilarating. As for his stats, his combat power had now reached 47 stars. Thanks to the touch talent he'd acquired from the hexagonal platinum giant ant, the only sense-based talent he was missing was taste. He also had strength enhancement taken from the gold ants, along with the true strength he'd received later. Upon reaching D rank, his strength now felt 5 times greater than before. After extracting the talent from the Ant Queen, his metal control ability ranked up to D. He also gained the ability to summon black ore armor around his body. The only downside was that he couldn't get the Ant Queen's formic acid spit skill. Furthermore, because his metal control had leveled up, the destructive power of his spike attack, formed by his telekinetic abilities, had also increased. The energy needed to control it was also cut in half, which was great news. He still needed to awaken his external energy projection talent. This ability allows him to condense his body's internal power into an aura and release it to harm his enemies. It's a bit like the internal energy you see in martial arts novels. He could also infuse this aura into his weapons to increase their damage. This was a massive haul, and feeling refreshed, he prepared for the next battle. On top of all that, he still had a pile of treasure chests from defeating the mutant ants. Suddenly, an idea struck him about Liu Xuan, the second-ranked player in Village 911. Through the system, he confirmed he had 8 silver treasure chests, enough to craft a gold treasure chest. He went to the public channel and posted a trade offer, offering his Tier 2 armor and Tier 2 shadow boots for a treasure chest combination card on the World Channel. Everyone was shocked to see the announcement, because only powerhouses at level 10 or higher could make personal broadcasts. It turned out to be Qin Feng, the same guy who led 3 villages to victory against 24 others, a total legend. Meanwhile, Qin Feng was already gearing up for his fight with the wolf pack. After getting the Wind God boots, his speed had skyrocketed, allowing him to reach the location in just 1 hour. He encountered countless monsters on the way, but they were no match for him. He just used them to test out his new abilities. By now, he was level 10 and almost at level 11. His combat power had already reached 49 stars. At the same time, he had collected enough materials from level 10 beasts. He was still short on materials from level 8 and 9 beasts, so it looked like he'd have to buy more of their corpses. Qin Feng soon arrived at the entrance to that mysterious village from before. This time, he made a badass entrance like a true powerhouse, not like his embarrassing fall last time. He took a moment to look at the numerous gates. You are the 7th person from the novice village to unlock the Blue Star World mission. Please be mindful of the time. Qin Feng figured Blue Star World must refer to the billions of people on his home planet. That meant 6 others had already reached this core before him today. It seemed there were quite a few hidden masters in this Blue Star World. If he didn't hurry, he might not even make it into the top 10. Qin Feng stepped through the gate and was immediately enveloped in a thick fog as a large, fat young man tried to ambush him from behind. It turns out that because Village 911 had won so many bets, the original mission difficulty was doubled. The evil creature's combat power was increased, but the rewards were also doubled. Village 911 was the only village to receive this difficulty hike. The big guy sneered when he saw Qin Feng was just a level 10 novice king, weaker than he himself had been when he was alive. Before he could even finish his laugh, Qin Feng unleashed a powerful arc of energy that sliced his head clean off. So much for all that talk. A high level means nothing. True strength is all that matters. With that pig-faced loser down, another enemy appeared. This one wielding a staff like Sun Wukong. He was a level 14 Wraith emissary with a 50-star combat rating. Such a high combat rating was probably because the Heavenly Tao had doubled the mission's difficulty. If he failed this mission, he too would become a Wraith emissary. Seeing the new opponent, Qin Feng spoke up. "You're a lot stronger than that fat guy, kid." Hearing this, the emissary got angry, pointed his spear at Qin Feng, and yelled, "Don't you dare compare me to that useless trash." Around here, that fatso was the lowest of the low, a total bottom feeder. Without hesitation, Qin Feng summoned his blade and charged. The Wraith emissary actually struggled against the attacks of a level 11 player like him. He used all his strength to parry the blade, only to immediately eat a punch from Qin Feng. The single punch sent him flying dozens of meters in agony, slamming into a boulder. But instead of being scared, the emissary flashed a sinister grin and said to Qin Feng, "Oh, I forgot to mention, you shouldn't have touched me. Anything that touches me freezes into solid ice, unable to move. All you can do is let me tear you apart." Only then did Qin Feng realize his hand had been frozen solid. Quickly, his entire body was encased in a block of ice. The emissary immediately got to his feet and thrust his spear toward Qin Feng's eye. Just as the spear was about to pierce his pupil, Qin Feng suddenly shattered the ice, and from beneath the emissary, countless sharp spikes erupted, impaling him. That guy went to join his underling, and Qin Feng received another dark crystal shard. He shot back, "I also forgot to mention, I don't get too close to me. Otherwise, you'll just become experience points for my next level up." And just like that, the emissary kicked the bucket without a chance to say any last words. Qin Feng continued deeper inside. A loud shriek from a vengeful spirit made the gloomy atmosphere here even heavier. From a cloud of purple dust, 4 figures appeared at once. They were all level 15, grudge spirit envoys, each with a combat power of 54 stars. Qin Feng had expected this, but something was off. There were 7 dark fragments, which meant there should be 7 envoys. He'd already killed 2 of them, which meant 1 was still missing. Just as that thought crossed his mind, a girl appeared. She materialized right behind him without making a sound. The girl clasped her hands together and gave him a sickeningly sweet smile. Instantly, Qin Feng was pulled into an illusion, his body completely paralyzed. The world spun violently around him, making him incredibly dizzy. The 4 envoys surrounded him, laughing sinisterly. Then, the scene shifted, and Qin Feng found himself in a field of flowers. He wondered where he was. Suddenly, the scenery around him transformed into the beautiful girl from before. She began to dance seductively, and Qin Feng felt his control slipping. But the demon inside him snapped back to reality. The envoys were still gloating, assuming this human's weakness was his low stamina. He had killed the ice god, and Baya was losing her mind. In the illusion, Qin Feng was still being seduced by the girl. As he drew closer to her, the 4 envoys couldn't wait any longer. They drew their weapons and charged at Qin Feng. But at that exact moment, he snapped out of it. In a blur of motion, he appeared behind the axe wielder and sliced the guy in half with a single strike. Next, he warped to the girl holding a chain and cut her down. Qin Feng flashed a smirk and said, "The best time to strike is when you think you've already won." The remaining 3 were utterly stunned. "Hurt people wanna hurt people, huh?" The girl in the white dress was livid, realizing he was never under her spell at all. The 3 of them unleashed their violent power, trying to overwhelm him. But who was overwhelming who? The old man with the scythe attacked, but Qin Feng was faster. He dodged the attack and leaped up, stomping the young boy into a paste. Then, he grabbed the old man's arm and slammed him into a boulder. Suddenly, the girl in the white dress appeared behind Qin Feng. Just as he swung his blade to cut her in 2, her body dissolved into a cloud of scattered flower petals. Qin Feng was stunned. It was another illusion, but he was sure his blade had made contact. He figured she must be hiding among the petals. The petals then swirled into a small tornado. As the vortex flew past, it grazed his cheek. This strange attack was obscuring his vision. He needed to get out of there, fast. Qin Feng leaped away, dodging the pursuing petals while simultaneously summoning iron spikes from the ground to impale his enemy. He moved quickly, but the petals kept up, wrapping around his body and binding him. This girl had a dual wood-type talent. Qin Feng cried out in pain as the bonds tightened, and she materialized from within the petals. She had him trapped, lifting him into the air. She laughed, calling him interesting. Only level 11, yet he could easily wipe the floor with grudge spirit envoys. He definitely had some kind of secret. She manifested silk ribbons from her hands, which coiled around Qin Feng and slammed him into the ground. Over and over, she smashed him against the rocks. Qin Feng realized this girl was a total psycho. He couldn't move his arms or legs, which meant his only chance to counterattack was the moment his crystal armor shattered. He dispelled the crystal armor at that very instant. There had to be a gap between his body and the silk bindings, a small space to move. He was able to free one hand and summon hellfire. Flames erupted from his entire body, incinerating the silk. Immediately, he summoned a massive torrent of fire and unleashed it below. The power of the hellfire injured the girl. Qin Feng then noticed that the fire didn't completely burn away her white dress. Seeing that Qin Feng had so many skills, she flew into a rage, accusing him of hacking the game. "No one can have more than 3 talents," she shrieked hysterically. Qin Feng just gave a weary smile as he continued to burn her with hellfire. Talk about being clueless. He didn't have 3 talents. He had dozens, even hundreds. With that, he had slain all 7 envoys. The grudge demon's fury became several times more intense than before, as if it was about to burst out of the altar. He placed the 7 crystal cores. He set them into the grooves of the 7 stone pillars on the dark altar. According to the instructions, this would undo the seal and release the grudge demon. An incredibly intense surge of power shot out from the 7 pillars toward the center. Qin Feng could feel the seal weakening. He thought, "It's about to appear." A bolt of light struck down from the sky, and after a massive explosion, a system notification congratulated him. Qin Feng had successfully released the grudge demon. A colossal monster appeared, and he felt a sense of dread. He'd never faced anything like it. It looked like a monster straight out of hell, with 6 massive horns on its head and an absolutely enormous body. After observing it for a moment, Qin Feng identified it as a level 17, Emperor-grade grudge demon. Its combat power was a whopping 71 stars. It roared and slammed its hand down towards Qin Feng, bellowing, "You killed my subordinates. You have destroyed centuries of my work." Just a single strike was enough to make his arm go numb. Its power was terrifying. With one hand, it restrained Qin Feng, while the other unleashed a torrent of green energy, slamming down on him with devastating force. A terrifying impact, followed by a spray of fresh blood from beneath its hand. The monster was sure it had crushed him into paste. It gloated, certain of its victory. It thought the one who killed 7 of its underlings would be formidable, but this was just a disappointment. But its disappointment didn't last long. Qin Feng's voice rang out, taking it completely by surprise. He had managed to create durable, flexible spikes at the last second, blocking half the force of the attack. Qin Feng quickly flipped out from under the monster's hand. Seeing that he had survived a direct hit and could still move so fast, the monster grew curious about Qin Feng's power. It smashed both its hands into the ground, shattering the rock below and forcing Qin Feng to scramble to escape. He immediately drew his blade and lunged forward, slashing at its arm. But neither his blade of wind and cloud nor his created spikes could put a scratch on its defense. This thing's hide was insanely tough. His hellfire was 3 times stronger, 10 times more powerful than before, but it still couldn't injure the wraith. It continued its frantic charge toward Qin Feng. He struggled to dodge before leaping up, deciding to try a similar attack with triple the vital energy. He slammed a palm strike down on the monster. It blocked with both hands, and just like everything else, the attack had no effect. He had used every skill in his arsenal and still couldn't hurt it. Qin Feng wondered to himself, was this mission destined to be a failure? The monster continued its relentless assault, swinging its giant hands at him. He reasoned that this was, after all, just the main boss of a newbie village. It couldn't possibly be without a weakness. As the behemoth charged, he looked down at its legs, the one place he hadn't tried yet. Qin Feng drew his blade again, his eyes flashing with light. He shot forward with incredible speed and unleashed a strike across both of its legs. Just as he predicted, the monster went down, falling flat on its face. As expected, the defensive plating on its joints was a nuisance, but it also proved to be the wraith's greatest weakness. The monster, having crashed face first, roared in humiliated fury. It unleashed a binding illusion, transforming a large area into a green swamp. From below, demonic hands erupted from the muck, trying to grab Qin Feng. He swung his blade, slicing them apart, but a giant fist came flying at him from behind. Caught by surprise, Qin Feng couldn't react in time and was sent flying several hundred meters. He coughed up a mouthful of blood in agony. The monster's massive punch had sent his body soaring until he finally slammed into a cliff wall. He desperately used his self-regeneration ability to recover from the injury. The creature's power had increased. That one blow had shattered every bone in his body. Luckily, he had refined the talents of the monsters he'd killed earlier. His level 2 self-healing skill automatically generated a level 3 rejuvenation art, and his wounds would be fully healed in a few seconds. With a skill like this, he could kill his opponent, even with a significant difference in strength. The Wraith was utterly stunned to see that he still wasn't dead. A notification appeared. Zone 9321. A player from Village 74 has successfully killed the Wraith. The Qin top 10 list now has an opening. Qin Feng knew he couldn't delay any longer. He immediately rushed toward the Wraith. At the same time, it charged at him, baring its sharp teeth. For the first time, Qin Feng used his illusion clone skill. He rarely used it because it required him to awaken a connection between all 6 senses. Fortunately, he had traded for a level 3 100 flavors fruit when he opened the demon sealing altar earlier. After using it, he gained an F-rank talent for taste. With all 6 senses connected, he could now use both beast taming and illusion clone. Qin Feng created an illusion to distract the Wraith, while his real body launched a relentless assault against it. The monster, battered by his continuous attacks, was finally starting to feel the damage. But a notification caught Qin Feng's attention. Another person had killed a Wraith, claiming the number 2 spot for Qin. He had to be faster. The monster was still fighting back, wondering how this level 11 brat could be so powerful. The Wraith had been observing Qin Feng ever since he entered the village. It had been secretly monitoring his strength, speed, constitution, and spirit. All his awakened talents, none of them were strong. But after he killed Bai Ruo, he had muttered a few strange words and made some odd gestures. His whole body glowed, and then he changed into something it could no longer comprehend. And just then, another player from Newbie Village number 7 successfully killed a Wraith. Qin Feng quickly combined his level 3 Raging Hellfire with vital energy, spikes, and potent poison. He threw everything he had at the Wraith. He refused to believe that this barrage of heavy-hitting attacks wouldn't break through the armor on its body. He lunged forward, swinging his blade with all his might, and it worked. He had pierced through its armor. Meanwhile, the people of Village 911 were anxiously watching. Another person had made it into the top 10, leaving only 7 spots. They found it strange. For half a day, no one had cleared the stage, but after the first person succeeded, several others followed in quick succession. It was clear that the difference in strength between the top masters wasn't very large at all. That's why their completion times were so close. The mission for their Village 911 was twice as difficult. It seemed their chances of getting into the top 10 were slim to none. They weren't hoping for Qin Feng to make it into the top 10. They just wanted him to be safe. If he failed this time, there was always the next. Another challenge. But let's hope the rewards aren't cheap. Meanwhile, Qin Feng had already taken the life of the Wraith demon. He secured his name in the number 5 spot. The battle left him completely exhausted. Congratulations to Zone 1, Village 911, for becoming one of the top 10. On the Blue Star World Village establishment list, you have earned a special reward. Your initial attributes are increased by 200%. Because the mission difficulty was doubled, the rewards were doubled as well. The top 10 individuals received 400 attribute points and 2 golden treasure chests. He obtained the quest item, the Heart's Blood of a Wraith Demon. The system then asked if he wanted to uncover the village's true story. Qin Feng immediately agreed. He learned that the novice assessment wasn't a new beginning, but the start of an overwhelming nightmare. Once the protective barrier is broken, the Arbiter will descend. This was a being so powerful that even the combined strength of 100 people couldn't even begin to make it flinch. Memories of the old village surfaced, showing how all the villagers and the chief were powerless to withstand it. The Arbiter's attack. At that moment, the people's resentment was so intense that the demons of hell took advantage, turning them all into puppets. They were transformed into Wraith messengers, forced to serve the demons' evil purposes. After witnessing a part of these memories, Qin Feng finally understood the truth. The village chief, under the control of the dark demon god, died and became the Wraith demon. That long-lost abyss was actually the Wraith demon's former novice village. This meant that the Arbiter was the final trial that the heavens had set for the novice villages. He had no idea just how powerful it would be. It looked like he was in for some serious trouble. Meanwhile, the people of Novice Village 911 were struggling after their fight with a level 8 monster. An announcement declared that a village had been officially established, renamed Evernight Village. A girl wondered when their leader, Qin Feng, would officially establish their own village. They were all eagerly awaiting it, unable to hold back their excitement any longer. and they started messaging Qin Feng in the chat channel. Seeing his reply, they were thrilled and immediately wanted to ask him about the village. Qin Feng told them that before establishing it, he wanted to give it an epic name and asked if anyone had ideas. Some suggested Domineering Village, others Celestial Village, but Qin Feng thought the name Dragon Abyss was perfect, so he locked it in. With the name decided, he opened the scroll to establish the village. A brilliant light spread across the entire area, and everyone was still celebrating the rewards they'd just received from the quest. All of them received an additional 80 attribute points. After Dragon Abyss Village was established, the system of every resident from Novice Village, 911, received a new addition, a wooden house. This excited them, as they realized it could be a lifesaver in a critical situation. The wooden house could increase the recovery speed of their stamina, and a punishment skill could reduce travel time. Full of excitement, everyone gathered in the village square. A notification appeared. Village Chief Qin Feng activated the video conference feature, a function only he possessed. He started a video call and told everyone that after the novice assessment, every novice village would have to face an arbiter. It possessed a combat power of 100 stars. The arbiter's goal was to destroy their novice wooden houses. Anyone who lost their house would become a wanderer. They would also have 100 attribute points deducted. Hearing this, everyone panicked. They had just found a glimmer of hope after surviving the tough novice assessment. Why was there an arbiter now? A combat power of 100 stars sounded terrifyingly hopeless. It seemed like there was no way to survive. Qin Feng continued, explaining that if they successfully defended against the arbiter, the village would receive enormous rewards. They still had 4 to 5 days. He urged everyone to quickly reach level 10 so they could fight alongside him. His words lifted their spirits a bit, and they all became determined to fight with Qin Feng. In addition, upgrading the village would unlock public structures and grant the authority to protect their homes. With their homes protected, they would have a better chance of fighting back against the arbiter. To upgrade the village from level 0 to level 1, they needed to meet 5 conditions. First, a population of 500 or more, which his Dragon Abyss village already had. Second, the village chief needed to obtain the title of Novice Emperor. Third, the village chief's novice wooden house must be upgraded to level 2. He told them to leave these 2 conditions to him. Fourth, there needed to be at least 100 level 1 wooden houses. And fifth, there had to be at least 10 level 10 experts. The last 2 conditions were a bit tricky, and he urged everyone to work together. As soon as the villagers learned what materials were needed to upgrade their houses, they immediately decided to form groups to search for them and trade on the market channel. This way, they could gather everything much faster. As for Qin Feng, he realized he already had all the necessary upgrade materials on hand. He quickly upgraded his own wooden house. He successfully reached level 1, and this level 1 wooden house was a huge improvement over level 0. When not sleeping, the recovery rate of his health and stamina was doubled. While sleeping, the recovery rate was tripled. Seeing Qin Feng's house, everyone was blown away. They were convinced their leader Qin Feng must have god-tier luck to be so far ahead. Everyone cheered for him like crazy. It was like a bunch of fans finally meeting their idol. And then, a world announcement appeared. Success. This level 1 wooden house was a huge improvement over level 0. When not sleeping, the recovery rate of health and stamina doubled. While sleeping, the recovery rate tripled. Seeing Qin Feng's house, everyone was completely amazed. They were sure that their boss, Qin Feng, had to be blessed by the gods to have gotten so powerful. Everyone screamed for him like a bunch of fans meeting their favorite superstar. And a worldwide announcement appeared ahead of schedule. The number of villages established in the Blue Star world has reached 100. Starting today, the village upgrade race officially begins. Over in Evernight Village, their village chief possesses a vampire talent. They bite the necks of others, turning them into their own blood-kin citizens. They believe they will soon become the most powerful force in the Blue Star world. Their goal is to enter the top 3 in this village upgrade competition. The heavens will grant great rewards to the villages in the top 3. Upon reaching level 3, all villagers will gain 500 attribute points. The village chief will gain 1,000 attribute points. With these rewards, they aim to dominate the Blue Star world. They believe that the only ones who can threaten Evernight Village are 5 other villages. Those are Light Village, Brahma Village, and even the 5th village, the newly established Dragon Abyss Village. Meanwhile, Qin Feng is still building his village. He uses his Thorn Creation ability, controlling it like he's Spider-Man. After adding all the attribute points he previously obtained, His combat power is already at 83 stars. If he can secure those 1,000 attribute points in the village competition, he might be able to put up a fight against a Heaven's Punisher. To upgrade a village from level 0 to level 1 requires 3 conditions, one of which is upgrading the chief's beginner cabin to level 2. Right now, he's only missing Frost Stone, a level 1 resource, to upgrade his beginner's cabin. Coincidentally, Frost Stone is produced in Autumn Water Lake, the resting place of the one-horned Turtle King. He sets off quickly, planning to complete 2 missions at the same time. And he's also single-handedly carrying his team, having contributed 723 units of wood materials to the village, along with 361 units of stone materials. The villagers are absolutely stunned. With this, their wooden houses can finally be upgraded. They feel it's amazing to have a village chief like Qin Feng. That's all the news about the village for now. Having a combat talent also means you can survive in other ways. You don't have to hunt beasts day and night anymore. In the future, professions like carpenters, miners, and butchers will emerge, and other lifestyle professions as well. The rich resources of Dragon Abyss Village are more than enough to support these professions. This allows them to maintain a stable leveling speed. As for Qin Feng, he's still out day and night, searching for resources to meet the upgrade requirements, which led to him jumping into the sea and diving down, only to remember that he doesn't know how to swim. Spotting a demon fish, he immediately swam back to shore. He got too cocky and almost forgot he's a terrible swimmer. He was almost turned into fish food, but the creature wasn't about to let him go. Just as he breathed a sigh of relief, the strange monster leaped out, opening its massive mouth to swallow him whole. It managed to swallow Qin Feng, but it looks like it just signed its own death warrant. From inside its body, he sliced a clean path right through it and climbed out. At the same time, he purified its skill, obtaining the C-rank talent, true meaning of water. Because of this, he can suddenly activate gills on his face. He can now breathe underwater. This is absolutely fantastic. And just in time, as a school of one-eyed fish leads its forces to attack him. This is absolutely fantastic. And just in time, as a school of one-eyed fish leads its forces to attack him. Qin Feng easily freezes them solid, thanks to the Ice God's emissary skill he acquired earlier. After killing them, he also captures a crocodile and turns it into his personal mount. Autumn Water Lake is massive. He's been traveling for an hour, but hasn't found a single piece of frost stone. Furious, he punches the crocodile, thinking it's tricking him and deliberately wasting his time. The crocodile cries in fear, saying, "My lord, we're almost there. Good things come to those who wait." The crocodile thinks its life is just the worst. Out of nowhere, it ran into this demon, who just showed up at its home and forcibly separated it from its wife, forcing it to search for frost stone. He's so violent and evil. The couple's separation is heartbreaking. All it could do was tell its wife to be good and wait for its return. But despite the crocodile's longing for its beautiful wife and clever kids, Qin Feng is still casually riding it, parading arrogantly at the bottom of the lake. It's true what they say, the wicked always live easy. Suddenly, he spots a coiled turtle swimming by. There are a lot of them down here. He and the crocodile stealthily hide behind a rock. Qin Feng felt worried. Previously, he had encountered mammoths and giant golden ants. Although they also possessed group attack skills, they lacked intelligence, tactical skills, and couldn't fully utilize the strength of their entire species. But these black turtles were clearly different. They seemed to be working together, and he was coming from behind them. Countless ice arrows shot toward Qin Feng, but as soon as they got close, his wind wall deflected them, sending them flying in other directions. But the Turtle King wasn't done yet. It formed another massive energy ball in its mouth, which instantly transformed into a giant ice arrow and launched straight at Qin Feng. He struggled to duck, just in time to dodge it. He thought to himself, "I can't use my Hellfire Inferno underwater, and the attack power of my metal, wood, and earth auras are all weakened here. These underwater beasts have the home field advantage. Even if I'm stronger, it's almost impossible to take them all down in one hit." Qin Feng had to keep running to dodge the ice arrows firing from the turtle. Crap. Just as he was running, he tripped over a rock and face-planted. At that very moment, another volley of arrows rained down on him. Qin Feng scrambled to his feet and hid behind a large boulder. This sent the turtles into a frenzy. They started searching for him everywhere. Hiding, Qin Feng thought. If I can't get them out of the water, I'll have to go by the old saying, to catch the bandits, first catch their king. He used his phantom clone to create a double, using it to switch positions and create chaos, without launching an immediate, full-blown attack. His clone shot out like a god. The moment the turtles saw it, they unleashed another storm of arrows. The clone expertly dodged every single one. From behind the rock, the real Qin Feng made his move. He took a roundabout path while the turtles were still frantically unleashing hell, completely oblivious to his movements. Qin Feng moved stealthily. He couldn't use any skills, or he'd be discovered. But to his surprise, the clone was hit way too quickly. It shattered in an instant. Seeing the phantom clone shatter, the Turtle King was stunned. It had no idea what that thing was. Meanwhile, Qin Feng had already closed in from behind. The king heard a noise and turned its head, only to see Qin Feng lunging right at its face. He slammed a powerful palm strike right into its jaw. Enraged, the snake on its back lunged forward to bite him. He quickly used the silk ribbon control skill he'd acquired from the Wraith Messenger to bind the snake tightly. Standing before it, he taunted, "Come on, take a bite, you little worm, I've put up with you for far too long." He clenched his fist, and the silk ribbon transformed into demonic hands that grabbed the snake and snapped its neck. "Get up and dance for me now." Just like that, the one-horned Turtle King was defeated, and he obtained the quest item. It was the Water-type King's Heart. At that moment, his level rose to 12, but Qin Feng hadn't forgotten about the little turtles that ganged up on him earlier. He immediately used his Art of the Clone technique, and along with the demonic silk hands, began a merciless harvest. In just a few seconds, the turtle mob turned into a rich stream of experience points for him. At the same time, he also absorbed their innate skill, Ice Storm. It was a Tier 4 skill that could unleash a barrage of arrows and blades of snow, forming a massive ice storm with a 10-mile area of effect. Qin Feng knew this kind of weather-based attack skill was incredibly rare. This haul was even bigger than he had imagined. As he was gloating over his rewards, the alligator cheerfully reported that the frozen ice was just ahead. "Let's go, big bro," the gator figured. A wise man knows when to bow to a superior. Anyone who could kill the Turtle King was not someone it could mess with. If it just stuck by this guy and served him well, he might spare its life. After this, it just wanted to get out of this place, with its beloved wife, and never come back. Qin Feng immediately hopped on its back to go collect the stones. Elsewhere, in a kingdom of women with advanced technology, a young woman was observing Qin Feng's every move. She noted that it was only the third day, and this human from the lesser world had already obtained the third piece of the king's heart. Truly impressive. She also thought he was quite handsome and wondered about his strength. It would be nice to have a romance with him. But another woman spoke up, "Don't even think about it. Humans from the lesser worlds have inherently weak constitutions. They can't withstand innate supernatural powers. Even if they somehow make it to the global stage, they'd never last until the War of 10,000 Realms, let alone ever get the chance to meet you." They knew this human's name was Qin Feng. The resources in his starting village had been multiplied several times over, which meant the difficulty of his quests had also increased proportionally. To still be able to complete missions under these conditions was no easy feat. His greatest challenge won't be obtaining the 5 King's Hearts, but the battle at Dragon's Fall Slope. Let's hope he can give us a pleasant surprise. Meanwhile, Qin Feng had emerged from the water. He was now arrogantly riding an eagle, enjoying the breeze, when he noticed something strange. Liu Yuan's level had always been lower than Liu Xuan's. How could he have surpassed him in just 1 hour? On the Longyan village level rankings, he was now number 1 at level 12. Second place was Liu Yuan at level 8, followed by Liu Xuan, Lei Jiao, and Shi Ji, who were all also level 8. He had no idea what they were doing to level up so fast all of a sudden. And this Qi Jie guy was extremely odd. He'd never even been in the top 10 before. In the chat channel, everyone was scrambling to trade for energy stones, which made Qin Feng extremely curious. What were these energy stones, and why were they so valuable? And then, he figured it out. Turns out, those two were secretly profiting. A novice weapon could be exchanged for 2 contribution points, while a single energy stone was worth 10. But Liu Xuan and Qi Ji were manipulating the prices on the regional channel. 1 energy stone could be exchanged for 10 beginner weapons, allowing them to make a profit of 10 contribution points. They'd then use those points to buy more leveling up energy stones, which is why their leveling speed was skyrocketing. Beginner weapons were the most common resource in the village. In the beginner protection zone alone, there were an estimated 100,000 unclaimed beginner weapons. If all of those were converted into contribution points, it would be enough to power level a huge number of people to level 10. Everyone in Longyuan village was giving it their all. If they kept growing at this rate, he thought, Longyuan village might actually stand a chance against the heavenly punishers. Suddenly, a noise from the forest below caught Qin Feng's attention. Down below, a group of thugs were robbing a young woman. She'd already handed over all of her supplies, but one of the creeps clearly wanted more than just her stuff. Even as she cried and screamed that Boss Qin would make him pay, The creep just sneered. And who the hell is he? If he really gave a damn about you people, why wouldn't he share his secret to leveling up so fast? He's nothing but a selfish fraud. But before he could finish, the girl's eyes went wide with joy as she looked over his shoulder. It was Qin Feng, arriving in the nick of time. He made a grand entrance on the back of his eagle, pointing down and declaring, "Scum, who prey on their own kind don't deserve to live. Not even your ancestors crawling out of their graves could save you now. A bunch of worthless degenerates." This sort of thing was inevitable in such a cruel, unforgiving world. Everyone was trapped in a never-ending race. Some people tried to get ahead honestly, but others would stoop to anything, preying on the weak for their own personal gain. The only thing he could do was get stronger and do everything in his power to stop this from happening within Longyuan village. He saved the girl and told her to head back to the village to warn everyone to watch out for these lowlifes. Qin Feng thought that once Longyuan village leveled up, he needed to look into the village chief's powers. It would be great if he had the ability to issue bounties. Then, if any bastard dared to pull something like this on his turf, he'd personally turn him into a eunuch. As he flew on the eagle's back, Qin Feng couldn't help but admire his beast taming skill. It saved him a ton of travel time. Too bad all the beasts he'd run into so far were low level. None were worthy of being his spirit pet. He hoped he'd get a spirit beast the next time he opened a treasure chest. Along the way, Qin Feng stumbled upon a field of demon flowers. They were all man-eating, level 15 monsters, but with a combat rating of only 24 stars. Too bad for these demon flowers. He wasn't exactly known for being gentle. Qin Feng immediately drew his blade and summoned sharp thorns, diving in to make short work of the pathetic plants. He hacked and slashed relentlessly amidst their piercing screams. The remaining plants could only shriek for help, but suddenly, their screams triggered a hallucination, making his ears throb in pain. The demon flowers began to emit a green gas that made him incredibly dizzy and his head pound. They clustered together and blasted a thick cloud of pink smoke at him. Qin Feng instantly realized it was poison, covering his nose as he leaped back to dodge. Now Qin Feng could see their true forms, level 15 monsters. Now this was a fight he could get excited about. Easy mode is no fun. He instantly summoned hellfire and thorns and charged toward them. Realizing he was resistant to their poison, the flowers knew they were in danger and tried to flee, screaming for him to spare them. "Oh, trying to run now? You bastards really think you can escape? As if I'd let you go." The flowers immediately became a fresh batch of experience points for him. Killing them also dropped a tier 2 green wood heart, the exact material he needed to upgrade his wooden house to level 3. These demon flowers had regenerative abilities. Even if you cut them down with a normal sword, they could just grow back. But unfortunately for them, his sword was imbued with hellfire, making regeneration impossible. Yeah, they regenerated all right, into a pile of ash. His killing spree earned him 110,000 experience points and over 20 attribute points. His combat power had already reached 87 stars. This rapid leveling speed was exhilarating. The entire field had basically become a flower graveyard. Suddenly, Qin Feng spotted 2 hives up ahead. They belonged to level 15 bloodthirsty poison bees, with a combat rating of 36 stars. He had just destroyed their food source, so they swarmed toward him, absolutely furious. There were too many of them. If he got swarmed, even with his power, it would be impossible to defend himself without leaving an opening. Looks like he'd have to try out a new skill. As the swarm gathered to surround him, Qin Feng raised a hand to the sky, looking like he was cursing his very existence. Just kidding. He unleashed a massive wave of power, and the energy erupted from the ground, forming deadly spikes of ice all around him. This was the skill he'd learned from the spiral turtles in the lake, the tier 4 talent, Ice Storm. Instantly, hundreds of ice arrows rained down, piercing the swarm of bees with a series of splats. The bees were slaughtered just like that, and his experience points shot up like crazy. At level 13, after just a few dozen seconds, the entire area was littered with bee corpses covering the snowy field. As expected of a tier 4 skill, 3,000 poisonous bees, all wiped out in a single blow. I'm telling you, life is a breeze when you've got cheats. And now for the main course. Qin Feng pointed toward a seemingly harmless tree. This was the Withered Wood Demon, a level 16 king-tier monster with a combat power of 53 stars. Its traits are control, immortality, and aging. The tree then transformed into a beautiful girl with green hair. Does anyone here watch Perfect World? This tree looks just like the willow deity from that series. The tree goddess smiled, saying, "Honestly, it's been many years since a human dared to set foot in this forbidden zone." At the same time, she waved her hand, and her hair turned into sharp spikes that shot out in every direction. She really missed the taste of human blood. She wanted Qin Feng to obediently become her fertilizer. This Qin Feng guy is a tough one. If it were me, I'd have volunteered immediately. No fighting necessary. The wood goddess summoned several demonic flowers and a beehive from her hair. Her spikes also launched out a king-tier golden wasp king. The presence of this army was not to be underestimated, but Qin Feng wasn't afraid in the slightest. On the contrary, he seemed intrigued. He said, "You've all arrived at the perfect time. So, you want to gang up on me, huh?" Qin Feng then unleashed a wave of power around him. The very bees he had just slaughtered suddenly rose again, their eyes glowing an ominous red, forming a pretty menacing army of the undead. Of course, they still looked as mangled as they did at the moment of their death, so they looked a bit pathetic by comparison. In terms of size and power, his trash-tier bee army next to the Wasp King was like putting a level 1 slime next to a raid boss. But what he had was overwhelming numbers. His swarm of bees descended on the Wasp King, biting and tearing it apart. And just like that, the Wasp King was taken down by its own minions. Qin Feng obtained a heavenly treasure, golden royal jelly. Qin Feng had used a little trick beforehand. He knew his battered army of bees was no match for a Wasp King at full health. He had used his beast-taming art to reanimate them for battle, while simultaneously planting the hellfire flame inside each of their bodies. Hearing this, the Tree Queen was furious. She couldn't believe this human possessed two completely opposing elemental affinities, ice and fire. How is that possible? Heh, another rookie who doesn't know how things work. Every person I've killed before you has asked the same damn question. Qin Feng explained that once his controlled bees made contact with their target, he would detonate the hellfire flame, causing them to explode. It's a strategy that hurts the enemy for 800 while costing you 1,000, but it's incredibly effective. The Wasp King's body, along with its brethren, blew to smithereens in the sky. At that same moment, the blade in Qin Feng's hand vanished. In a flash, he appeared right in front of the Tree Queen. He brought his blade down hard on her head. Although the queen tried to block by hardening her spiky hair into solid ice, it was no use. It shattered, making her scream in agony. Meanwhile, Qin Feng pressed his attack, relentlessly slashing away. She was completely stunned, wondering what kind of skill could possibly negate her regenerative powers. Qin Feng was hacking through her hair like it was nothing, and the queen began to feel true fear. If this kept up, she was going to die. Even if it meant taking a massive loss, she had to use her ultimate move to survive. Immediately, she thrust out her hands and screamed. Purple tendrils of energy erupted from the ground, converging into sharp spikes that encircled and attacked Qin Feng. Suddenly, his surroundings flashed green, and he was pulled into an illusion, trapped at the center of a swirling purple vortex. To his horror, Qin Feng realized his body was rapidly aging, transforming into a bald old man. So, her ultimate move was an aging curse, designed to steal her opponent's life force. The purple energy had already crept up to Qin Feng's knees. He immediately activated his rejuvenation art. A green aura of power erupted from his body, representing the struggle between age and youth. His body fluctuated wildly between the two extremes. Qin Feng realized his life force was being drained as if by a black hole. His rejuvenation art couldn't completely purge the curse. Then he remembered, wood-type beast skills are all weak to fire. He'd try to burn it out with his hellfire flame. Wincing in pain, Qin Feng channeled the fire energy directly into his own body. The process of purging her skill was excruciating. Soon, the hellfire coursed through his veins. It began to burn away the aging curse from within. Qin Feng coughed up a mouthful of blood, but more importantly, he was finally breaking free. The Tree Queen's illusionary skill was dispelled, and he struggled to escape her control. The queen trembled, speechless. She couldn't believe that Qin Feng had shattered her ultimate killing move so quickly. This human's power was simply incomprehensible. Qin Feng quickly recovered, reverting to his handsome self. He thought he was about to become a wrinkled, bald old man for good. He had to admit, her move wasn't half bad. Any longer, and he might have had to check into a nursing home. He was about to rush in and punch her in the face when suddenly, the Tree Queen began to transform. The queen did something that left Qin Feng stunned. She actually knelt down, crying and begging for her life, saying she was blind to not have recognized his greatness and had foolishly offended him. She begged him for mercy, saying she was just a 180-year-old tree that had never met, let alone harmed, a human before. "Spare me, please," she said. Everyone who came for her was after this royal heart, and that she was willing to offer it to him. This situation put Qin Feng in a very difficult position. The Tree Queen took out her wood elemental royal heart. She stammered, there's more." In her mind, she calculated that he had used a total of 3 major skills, so his energy must be running low. This was the perfect opportunity for a sneak attack. She wanted to distract him, to buy time for her flower demons to revive. It's true what they say, beautiful women are all liars, and the more beautiful the flower, the more deceptive it is. She took out a 5th rank Fire Luan battle pet egg, saying she would give it all to him. She knelt, bowed her head, and offered it to Qin Feng with both hands. This Fire Luan possessed the bloodline of the vermilion bird, a legendary sacred beast. Its power was unmatched, and after reaching maturity, it could achieve Earth rank strength, making it a perfect fit for him. Although it was humiliating, the Tree Queen had to act as pitiful as possible. It seemed like her plan would be a perfect success, but the movements of the trees behind Qin Feng were too obvious. He had noticed them long ago. Their commotion was too loud. He couldn't pretend not to hear it even if he wanted to. He was just playing along to amuse her. He immediately unleashed hellfire that shot into the sky, incinerating all the flower demons behind him that were preparing a sneak attack. Then, pointing his sword at the tree goddess, Qin Feng said, "I thought a level 16 like you would have more special tricks up your sleeve than other king-rank beasts. Looks like I overestimated you." Before she could even say, "Wait," Qin Feng's sword had already sliced off her upper body. As she died, she was still crying out, "My Fire Luan. Does this guy have no heart for beautiful things at all?" Qin Feng successfully killed the tree goddess, earning a silver treasure chest. He also used infinite extraction to obtain the C-rank talent, 6th sense link. Since he already had this talent, it automatically upgraded to B rank, 6th sense telepathy. Because his 6th sense talent was enhanced, his mystic shadow clone skill was also strengthened. He could now create 2 additional clones at once. At the same time, his beast taming art evolved into the spirit connection art, which could increase a battle pet's combat power by 60%. Speaking of battle pets, he just remembered he'd gotten an egg from that tree queen. This Fire Luan battle pet egg could hatch a low-level Fire Luan battle pet, and it only needed to be nurtured with blood essence to hatch. He immediately began the hatching process, and the blood essence spread around the egg, stimulating it. The system noted that this Fire Luan was rumored to have the bloodline of the sacred beast, the vermilion bird, and possessed immense strength. Upon reaching adulthood, it could achieve a totally badass level. Qin Feng was incredibly excited. Below 100 stars is the human combat rank. Over 100 stars is the Earth combat rank, and over 1,000 stars is the Heaven combat rank. The moment he had been waiting for arrived. The 5th rank battle pet was showing signs of life. The egg hatched into a red chick. Oh, wait, this is a baby phoenix. Qin Feng thought some super badass beast would emerge, but he didn't expect it to be as tiny as a newborn chick. He playfully poked its head with his finger, and the little chick suddenly got angry. It then transformed into the shape of a massive fire phoenix and roared at him. Qin Feng found this delightful. This little guy's potential was off the charts. It was only level 1, but its combat rating was already 50 stars. That's insane. Qin Feng looked at it thoughtfully. If he used the spirit connection art, he could increase its combat power by another 60%. That would be an 80-star combat power, increasing his chances of defeating the Heaven's Punisher by another fraction. The adorable little chick flew up onto his shoulder. Qin Feng decided to name it Xiaoji, which also means little chicken. His Xiaoji was hatched with his blood essence, so from this moment on, they shared a bond as close as family. Its loyalty to him was unmatched in this entire apocalyptic world. The spirit connection art also allowed him to understand Xiaoji's language. There were no communication barriers between him and his battle pet, which was extremely convenient. And the first thing the chick said to him was that it was hungry. Qin Feng had never raised a pet before, so he had no idea what it ate. Did it eat monsters or human flesh? And so, with Xiaoji on his back, he rode a badass dragon, soaring majestically over a sea of fire. Xiaoji's body was too small to carry him in flight. He could only round up some flying beasts to use as temporary mounts, and wait for the little chick to grow bigger. And man, this little chick ate like a beast. Fortunately, it didn't eat human flesh like other monsters. Otherwise, he would have no idea how to raise it. Hearing this, the little chick said angrily, "I'm not a monster. I'm a sacred beast. Xiaoji is very strong. Other monsters can't beat me." Well, he might as well indulge it. Qin Feng said to it, Yes, you're the strongest. Number 1. And there's no number 2. He and little chickie flew to Hellfire Mountain on a quest to find the fire-type king's heart. In the sea of fire below, countless monsters witnessed Qin Feng's badass arrival. They were all lava fire sprites. Level 16 with a 30-star combat rating. Seeing these sprites, little chickie thought they looked absolutely delicious, its eyes gleaming with hunger. It immediately dove straight down, so fast Qin Feng couldn't stop it. But contrary to his worries, it plunged into them like a bowling ball. scattering the fire sprites below. It reveled in slaughtering them, and unexpectedly, all the monsters Little Chicky defeated also directly gave experience points and items to its master. Little Chicky slaughtered the fire sprites while also using its ability to suck them all into its stomach. Seeing this from above, Qin Feng decided to just let the little menace do its thing. Little Chicky's power was clearly superior to the fire sprites. This was a good place to train. Suddenly, one of the defeated lava fire sprites dropped a sprite card. Qin Feng picked it up, curious about what it was. A sprite card, a grade 2 item. Using this card grants 1 reputation point, with a user limit of 10 cards. Gaining reputation is a good thing. Reaching a certain reputation score can earn you a title bestowed by the Heavenly Tao. A title can carry various attributes, serving as another way to increase one's power. For example, Liu Xuan's reputation reached 10 points, becoming an elite newbie, which added 20 points to his intelligence stat. There were 3,000 fire sprites here. Wiping them all out should yield at least 100 cards. He couldn't use them all, so he planned to put the rest on the village channel to help the people of Dragon Abyss Village level up and reach level 10 sooner. Suddenly, a sound caught Qin Feng's attention. It turned out his little chick had leveled up. Its combat power rose to 60 stars. Looking at its triumphant expression as it slaughtered the sprites, the whole swarm was getting wiped out. And then, a fire sprite king appeared. It was level 16 with a 52-star combat rating. This thing was 1,000 times bigger than the other sprites. The moment it appeared, it launched an attack at Little Chicky, but it seemed to be nothing to the newly leveled up pet. Qin Feng decided to check on the situation in Dragon Abyss Village first. Liu Xuan, Lei, Zhui, Shijian, Liu Yan, and a few others, a total of 8 people had reached level 10. Now, including him, Dragon Abyss Village had 9 people above level 10. He had to get the newbie emperor title before fighting the Black Tortoise King. The newbie wooden house of the village chief would be upgraded after defeating the Black Tortoise King and finding the frost ice. Dragon Abyss Village now had 95 grade 1 wooden houses, which wasn't bad at all. The entire village could be upgraded soon. Suddenly, someone wanted to trade 3 grade 3 items for Qin Feng's grade 3 Great Cleaver. Meanwhile, Little Chicky and the Fire Sprite King were still locked in an intense battle. Qin Feng contacted the person, who said that, although the 3 items were grade 3, they were contaminated, effectively reducing them to grade 2. That's why she wanted to trade them for his grade 3 blade. He took a look at the 3 items. Weren't these the perfect treasures to custom fit his build? He made the trade immediately. He used infinite extraction to repair them and equipped them on the spot. Qin Feng realized these were lost items belonging to the emissary of Light. Could there be some hidden quest information here? Suddenly, a notification popped up. Dragon Abyss Village now had 10 people at level 10. The reward was 2 bronze chests, and the 100th grade 1 wooden house in the village was upgraded into a workshop. The village had met the requirements to upgrade to a grade 1 village. Qin Feng thought this was great. Everything was ready, so he ordered his little chick to end the fight quickly. Upon receiving the command, Little Chicky went into absolute beast mode, charging forward like a maniac. It shot straight through the Fire Sprite King's head, causing it to shatter into smaller Fire Kings that scattered across the sea of fire. And they didn't give up. They reformed into a giant fiery arm and lunged at the unsuspecting Little Chicky. Qin Feng sensed the danger and immediately flew up, using Ice Storm to block the fiery arm's attack. At the same time, he also caught Little Chicky. The Ice Storm successfully repelled the attack, and it seemed this Fire King wasn't so simple. It found this very interesting. A human from a minor world had managed to grow into an emperor-level powerhouse among newbies in such a short time. Meanwhile, Qin Feng had sensed the danger and knew he had to quickly use a special key to teleport back to the village instantly. Little Chicky's face was still etched with fear. Qin Feng's first priority was to upgrade the village. He hit the upgrade button, and after a few seconds, the entire village emitted an unusual light and leveled up, successfully reaching grade 1. Immediately, the sky changed, and a congratulatory message appeared for the whole village. Everyone received a blessing from the heavens, getting a reward of 50 free attribute points. As the village chief, Qin Feng got 100 points. The villagers' wooden houses were now grade 2, and the upgrade permissions had expanded to include the music. All. Qin Feng was still reveling in the joy, especially since it had been a long time since he'd had a bath. Suddenly, a notification cut him off. My bliss. The countdown for the village tournament has begun, with 74 hours remaining. Let's quickly divide that by 24. That's a little over 3 days. I guess if I can't level up to 2, I won't be able to claim the rewards from the village competition. It would be great if there were more ways to get a massive amount of attribute points. A robot suddenly appeared, claiming to be a customer service representative that could answer any question. It congratulated Dragon Abyss Village. Congratulations to Qin Feng for obtaining a chance to double his rewards. Hearing this, Qin Feng was a bit confused. The robot explained that the difficulty of the village upgrade challenge would be doubled. If he still won, the rewards would be multiplied by 2. The village chief would receive 2,000 attribute points, and the villagers would get 1,000. It gave him 10 minutes to consider. Qin Feng thought for a moment. The original upgrade conditions were already difficult enough, and he still didn't know what materials the Guardian Altar required. If it took another day or 2 to gather the remaining materials to reach level 2, he wouldn't have much time left. This was a rare opportunity. If he succeeded, Dragon Abyss Village would no longer have to worry about the Punisher's trial, but he still wanted to get everyone's opinion. Everyone felt that Dragon Abyss Village had gotten to where it was today entirely because of Qin Feng. Naturally, whatever he wanted to do, they would follow. Well, wasn't that about as useful as asking a brick wall? Qin Feng made the decision himself. He accepted the challenge, which meant the village now needed to have over 1,000 residents. The village chief's wooden house needed to reach level 3. The number of level 1 wooden houses had to be 400 or more. The number of level 2 wooden houses had to be 100 or more. And the number of powerful experts needed to be 10 or more. The system reminded them that only after completing all these conditions could they unlock the ability to build the Guardian Altar. Hearing this, everyone was completely stunned. Oh, crap, the conditions are insane. I think the village is done for this time. Our village chief, Qin Feng, has really doomed us all. Seeing a young man named Liu Yuan panicking like this, someone came over and asked him what was wrong. He pointed at the announcement and said, "Look at the first condition. The village population needs to exceed 1,000 people." Qin Feng had also opened the village monitoring system. He could check the location of any villager at any time. This was to prevent them from being killed while fighting monsters. It was a management and control authority he gained after leveling up. Building level 1 and level 2 wooden houses required a lot of wood and stone. He told everyone to start immediately. Everyone ranked 40th and below, go gather wood and stone. Those in the top 10, head to Giant Ant Mountain to the west. There's iron ore there. Those ranked from 11th to 30th have one key mission. Sprint to level 10 as fast as you can. Liu Yuan and Qi Jie, you two will temporarily take over the energy stone business. No one else is to interfere. The level 2 novice wooden houses require cold ice stones. I've placed them in the contribution channel, so everyone can take what they need. Qin Feng had contributed 100 cold ice stones to Dragon Abyss Village, earning 2,000 contribution points. He was determined to get the village to level 2 within 2 days, and prepare to face the Fire Demon King once again. But first, he wanted to upgrade his own equipment a little. He had a lot of treasure chests and a few chest synthesis cards left. He took them out, combined the crappy treasure chests into better ones, and opened them, getting 2 golden chests. He then used a synthesis card on the golden chests to create a black gold chest. He opened it immediately and received a level 5 item, the Dark Knight Sky Blade. Qin Feng felt this blade was perfect. With it, he was like a tiger with wings. You damn Fire Demon King, I'm coming to avenge Xiaoji. Qin Feng quickly returned to the volcanic crater. He was surprised to see a scorching fire red lotus at the bottom. This level 4 spirit fire was a direct descendant of the vermilion bird spirit within his body. It contained a large amount of the vermilion bird's divine blood. Then, a voice called out to him. It was a young boy. The boy spoke playfully. It's a shame the little bird is still so weak. A little twist of its neck, and it would die. My people always complained that I never grew up and even wanted to kill me. So I killed them all first. After that, the heavens told me that I couldn't just wander around aimlessly, so it told me to wait here. He was the Fire Demon King, and he instantly appeared right in front of Qin Feng, scaring him half to death. He had no idea when the kid had gotten up here. He swung his sword, but the Fire Demon King quickly dodged. He said he was incredibly curious about Qin Feng, a human from a small world who managed to reach the Emperor level in such a short time. Qin Feng asked curiously, "What's a small world?" He remembered meeting a mummy from a medium world before. Could it be that worlds were also divided by size? He felt that people from the medium world were all much stronger. The Fire Demon King arrogantly replied, "You don't need to know, because even if you did, nothing good would come of it." He began to move, creating a small flame in his hand. From the sea of fire below, a swarm of mutated glazed fire dragons flew up. They were all level 18 with a combat power of 37 stars. The boy maniacally screamed at them to kill Qin Feng. The fire dragons charged forward, and Qin Feng immediately unleashed his ice seals. Xiaoji was ready for battle. A bunch of 37-star mobs think they can act tough? With its body completely obliterated, the system notified him that he had gained experience points and that a glazed flame had dropped. Qin Feng was curious about what this glazed flame was. Could it be some kind of mythical fire? A fire jiao lunged at him, but with a single swing of his new saber, he sent its corpse flying. The young Fire King, seeing Qin Feng's power, looked a little intrigued. Then, he unleashed a blast of fiery energy. Qin Feng immediately recognized it. This was the same stuff that had been chasing Xiaoji earlier. Behind the Fire King, he summoned a colossal, war god-like fire giant. It was the Rock Giant King, the monster that emerged from the lava after Xiaoji defeated the Fire Spirit King. Qin Feng activated his True Sight Eye to inspect his opponent's abilities. Taking a closer look at the little Hellfire Demon King, he saw that he was level 19 with a 100-star combat rating. It was a bit high, but Qin Feng was confident he could win. The Demon King behind him began to move. It threw a barrage of punches, launching blasts of fire energy, then leaped forward with a powerful strike that had Qin Feng struggling to defend. He did his best to hold his ground, but it wasn't looking good. The volcanoes above began to stir as flaming rocks rained down, knocking Qin Feng back and forcing him to immediately flip away. He yelled, "Xiaoji, it's too dangerous here, go hide." The Fire Rock Giant was under the control of the Fire Demon King. He figured if he could just restrain the Fire Demon King, he could immobilize the Fire Rock Giant. With that thought, Qin Feng charged straight toward the Fire Demon King's position. But it wasn't that easy. The kid controlled the volcanic rocks and lava to constantly block his path. And then, the giant's fist came crashing down on Qin Feng. He dodged and slashed at it, injuring its arm. Unexpectedly, this also affected the young Fire Demon King, whose own arm was now severely injured. Before the kid could even recover from the shock, Qin Feng had already appeared behind him. The Fire Demon King immediately ordered the Fire Rock Giant to throw a punch, knocking Qin Feng into a sea of fire. Xiaoji watched in horror, but luckily, he had activated a full-body shield to protect himself from the fiery onslaught. He told Xiaoji he was fine and urged it to hide, saying that this monster was incredibly strong. "You're going down with it." Qin Feng was confident now that he knew injuring the Fire Rock Giant would also hurt the Fire Demon King brat. This just got a whole lot easier. He reached out his hand and cast Shadowbind. A series of demonic, shadowy tendrils erupted from under the boy's feet and instantly wrapped around his body. Because of this, the giant behind him was also bound and completely immobilized. Qin Feng immediately charged forward with his saber, but the Fire Demon King showed no fear. He flashed a sinister smile and unleashed a self-destructive aura to break the restraints. After the explosion, the Fire Demon King was free, but his body was much more battered. The little chicken was having the time of its life, watching its master's spectacular fight, cheering him on with all its might. Meanwhile, Qin Feng continued to press his attack, relentlessly slashing at the Fire Demon King with his saber. But what is this guy made of? Steel. How can he withstand continuous slashes from a level 5 weapon? Our combat ratings are only slightly different, so why is he so hard to fight? The two continued to clash fiercely. Just as Qin Feng's saber was about to strike the Fire Demon King's neck, the kid used an afterimage to teleport behind him and sent him flying with a powerful kick. He realized he must have underestimated something. He had to find his opponent's weakness, and fast. To his shock, the Fire Demon King actually caught his saber with his bare hands. The kid sneered, "Nice saber. After I kill you, I'll use it as a toothpick." Then the Fire Demon King headbutted him, sending him stumbling backward. Immediately, he raised his hand to the sky and declared, "Playtime's over. Time to end this." Suddenly, a strange phenomenon occurred. The entire sky turned blood red, and after a clap of thunder, a long spear fell from above. The Fire Demon King, ecstatic, leaped up, grabbed the long spear, and began to flourish it. He immediately charged, intending to send Qin Feng to his grave. But this kid was still way too green. Trying to finish off a pro with just a sliver of health? You'd better make sure they don't have their ultimate ready. Qin Feng was still able to parry the Fire Demon King's powerful strikes. The moment his opponent was knocked into the air, he saw his chance. He unleashed his energy, launching forward like a volley of arrows and piercing right through him. Caught by the sudden attack, the Fire Demon King had no time to react and took the full force of the killing blow in agony. Qin Feng pressed his advantage, moving in for the finishing blow. But this little brat was unbelievably tough. He still had the strength to stomp on his saber and say, "You're so naive." From a distance, the volcanoes began to shoot out small, flaming shards of rock. The Fire King thrust his long spear down to attack him and taunted. You think reaching a 100-star combat rating makes you an Earth rank powerhouse? If you reach a 100-star rating without passing the Sacred Martial Trial, you're nothing more than the peak of the human rank. A true Earth rank expert must pass the Sacred Martial Trial to have their body reforged by the heavens. Down below, Qin Feng struggled with all his might, using his saber to block the Fire Demon King's assault. He figured this was a perfect opportunity to pry some more information about the Earth rank out of the kid's mouth. The Fire Demon King poured all his strength into this thrust as the two clashed weapons once more, while Qin Feng decided to use his words to probe for the truth. The Fire Demon King was locked in a power struggle with the Heavenly Punisher. That bastard was clever too. He knew my plan and kept his mouth shut. He figured, with Longyuan village in its current state, even with the altar's protection, I was just a low-level Earth rank warrior. No one could save me. He wouldn't even need the Heavenly Punisher to step in. He was going to destroy me today all by himself. Qin Feng was forced to continuously dodge. The sheer power behind the Fire Demon King's slashes felt like an insult. In other words, the difficulty of the heavenly punishment was only going to increase from here. I had to finish this guy off quickly and unlock the map. The Fire Demon King sneered that the leap from human to Earth rank was massive, but that didn't mean a human rank couldn't defeat an Earth rank. Once your combat power hit 130 stars, a human rank could pull it off. He could tell Qin Feng's combat power clearly wasn't at 130 stars yet, but that last strike felt dangerously close to a half-step Earth rank. If he kept playing around, he was afraid he might actually lose here. He decided to pour all his energy into a single strike to finish Qin Feng off. The Fire Demon King raised his long spear and summoned a fire rock giant. Qin Feng knew this thing was going to be a total pain in the ass. Following the Fire Demon King's command, the giant slammed a powerful fist down towards Qin Feng. He managed to dodge just in time, but the king was already on him. He charged forward with his spear and skewered Qin Feng right through the stomach, causing excruciating pain. The king gloated. Did you really think that the giant's actions had to align with my will? It doesn't have a brain, it just swings its limbs wildly, messing everything up. He found it annoying, so he decided to control it himself. Qin Feng took the spear straight through his gut, barely managing to brace himself with a trembling hand. He realized he'd been careless. In this bloody world of slaughter, you can't rely on assumptions, but he still had a chance. As long as the spear moved, his rejuvenation art would heal this fatal wound. Seeing his attack land successfully, the Fire Demon King gloated and used a killer move, driving the spear deeper while the giant also slammed its fist down. Just then, Xiaoji charged forward. Xiaoji shot forward like a rocket to save his master, ramming the giant and knocking it off balance, causing it to punch wildly in a frenzy. The Fire Demon King saw Xiaoji and quickly had the giant grab it with one hand. In that single squeeze, Xiaoji fell limp to the ground. Meanwhile, Qin Feng, having taken a fatal blow, had nearly blacked out, but he still managed to stumble back to his feet. Is this it? Am I about to die? Impaled by a spear and hit by a giant, his injuries were too severe. The rejuvenation art needed time to work. His body could teleport back to the wooden house to recover, but Xiaoji was still out there, and he refused to leave his companion behind. Besides, if he couldn't even defeat this guy, how could he possibly protect Longyuan village? He couldn't run away. The responsibility for over 900 lives rested on his shoulders. Qin Feng used every last ounce of strength just to stand up. He struggled, telling himself over and over that he could not fall. Disregarding his own body, he burned his energy to force himself back to his feet. Witnessing this terrifying willpower, even the Fire King felt a flicker of fear. But Qin Feng became even more enraged when he saw his pet, Xiaoji, being brutalized. He focused a terrifying amount of power into his blade and thrust it towards the Fire Demon King. The king was still asking confidently, "Is that all you've got?" Then he suddenly froze. It turned out Qin Feng had used an illusionary clone to bind him. His clone had appeared at some point and placed its hands on the Fire King's shoulders, creating 6 demonic restraints that held him in place. He had no idea when he'd been trapped. He was completely oblivious as the blade, carrying immense pressure, hurtled towards him. Qin Feng unleashed his frenzied attack. The single strike pierced through and shattered him. After a flash of light, the Fire Demon King was sent straight to the afterlife to meet his ancestors. For killing the Fire Demon King, he received a Fire-type King's Heart. His reputation also broke 100, and his combat power broke 100. He earned the title Rookie Star, and all his stat points increased by 80 points each. He was utterly exhausted after the battle, but he'd finally won, and the attribute rewards were massive. He wondered if there were any other ways to increase his strength. At the same time, he used his rejuvenation art to heal Xiaoji's wounds. A notification announced that the villager Liu Xuan had upgraded his wooden house to level 2. Liu Xuan gained 100 attribute points, and his combat power reached 30 stars. As the village chief, Qin Feng received a bonus of 10 points. Qin Feng was completely surprised. He had no idea he'd get rewarded when a villager leveled up. The Heavenly Tao explained the leveling rules. During the human rank combat power stage, every time a villager breaks through a certain level, the village chief also receives corresponding attribute points. 30 stars earned him 10 points, and by that logic, 96 stars would get him 40 points. So this was the real benefit of being a village chief, he thought. Right now, there are 937 villagers. If every single one of them broke through to 30 stars of combat power, that would be amazing. He would get a whopping 9,400 attribute points from that alone. And what if he had 100,000 or 10 million villagers? Having millions of villagers would be absolutely mind-blowing. Just thinking about it was incredible. He could probably become a god instantly. Just as he was getting giddy, a robotic voice told him to get real and stop daydreaming. If he wanted to reap the benefits from his villagers, then he had to find a way to speed up their leveling process. So, he didn't hesitate to help everyone progress. He put his thoughts into action. To help everyone level up quickly, he decided to make a big investment. He took out the items he had collected. He pulled out 500 pieces. In Hellfire Mountain, the elf emissary uses elf tokens to gain prestige. And with prestige comes titles. Titles, in turn, grant attribute point rewards. After spending a large number of frost stones, the villagers can level up once they meet the requirements. Upgrading the wooden houses also grants attribute point rewards, and their strength will increase as well. I absorbed the Fire Demon King, which upgraded my fire-type talent to B rank, and my Hellfire Meteor transformed into the level 4 Hellfire Heavenly Flame. I also got his level 4 Fire Demon Spear and Windscar Blade. I listed them on the village trading channel. Hopefully, I can trade them for something useful. As for the volcanic lava fluid, Xiaoji already ate the blazing red lotus. I originally thought it might help it level up, but looking at it now, I was probably overthinking things. I've absorbed almost enough beasts for now. Even if I post an announcement to acquire more mutated beasts, the results won't be great. The endless absorption ability is my greatest asset. If I can't absorb anything, my power will be severely limited. No matter how I look at it, I need to quickly unlock a new map to absorb new beasts. Meanwhile, a young man from Winter Village had entered the mysterious, lost village to explore, but he was quickly taken down by the Yen Spirit emissaries. Qin Feng learned that Winter Village had already challenged the village chief's quest. His strength is decent, but the Yen Spirit emissaries and Yen demons are not easy to deal with. It looks like I won't be able to continue the energy stone business for a while. I also want to head to that mysterious village to find some gems. Suddenly, Qin Feng was ambushed. Using his Eye of True Sight, he saw it was a level 20 Forbidden Land Guardian with a 52-star rating. The guy fired an arrow at him, but 52 stars is just pathetic. I could probably stop that arrow with my bare hands. Seeing a human from the micro world actually block his light arrow, the Guardian was completely stunned. Qin Feng, in turn, grabbed the arrow and threw it back, piercing through the Guardian's head and taking him out of the game. Over here, some statues were being summoned. Qin Feng walked over and was overwhelmed by the thick stench of blood in the air. He had no idea what was happening. There was an altar, and all these white statues seemed to be the subordinates of this old, white-haired man. When the old man saw Qin Feng, he raised his hand in greeting, as if he'd known him for a long time. This was the level 20 Forbidden Lands False Town Master, with a 109-star combat rating. His background was a dragon slayer from the Meso world, who died in the dragon-slaying war. Seeing that the old man knew him, Qin Feng was curious. How do you know my name? He figured, with this guy's combat power of 109 stars, he could secure a victory. But if this group of white statues attacked together, even if he could fight 1,000 of them at once, he wouldn't be able to end this fight quickly. Not to mention, there was another 100-star expert here. Seeing his question, the old man nodded and said, I have been watching you from the very beginning. From when you could only ambush a giant gnawing rat, to later on, when you killed the mummified evil creature that was countless times stronger than you. You even managed to kill the 5 great kings. Every time you were cornered, you would unleash a burst of power that left me in complete awe. He said I was the most special powerhouse he had met in over 1,000 years, so he decided he would take me down. He immediately rushed towards Qin Feng at lightning speed. The sword in his hand created a whirlwind that surrounded him. Qin Feng instantly launched his hellfire at the man. The man realized This fire was like fire, but not quite. It had a bone-chilling cold, yet it could burn everything in the world. He recognized it as the heavenly flame of hell. The stream of fire dispelled his wind-slashing attack, and could even reflect damage back, which greatly surprised the old man. While he was busy spouting nonsense, he was met with a slash from Qin Feng that cut him in half. Getting sliced in two left the old man completely stunned. Qin Feng thought he was dead, but he realized there was no system notification. It seemed the man would revive soon enough. As expected, after just 2 seconds, he started moving again, and he was back to his chatty self. He stood up and gave Qin Feng a fake, sugary smile. Annoyed, Qin Feng gripped his blade and charged, intending to kill him again. But he suddenly stopped when he saw a bright light. The old man had taken out some dragon's blood fruits and said, "Let's be friends." Seeing them, Qin Feng's heart filled with desire, but he had to maintain his pride. He said, "You think you can buy me off with just a few dragon's blood fruits?" And just as expected, a minute later, he had accepted and absorbed the fruits. Because of this, his dragon blood concentration increased, awakening the power of dragon's blood. The dragon's blood fruit could activate bloodline talents. The more he ate, the higher the concentration of true dragon blood in his body would become. When it reached 3%, he would have a chance to awaken an inherited skill. The old man was suddenly incredibly kind, saying, "You're young, you should eat more. I have plenty more. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me." Whoa, what a plot twist. And here I was expecting an earth-shattering battle between two 100-star powerhouses. Qin Feng asked him what he knew about the sacred martial trial. The old man replied, "The sacred martial trial is a gift bestowed upon participants by the heavenly Tao. The trial allows the heavenly Tao to reform one's body. The holy martial assessment is divided into 5 ranks: low, medium, high, peak, and divine. But even though there are 5 ranks, in reality, over 99.69% of all people are low grade. Only 0.1% ever achieve mid-grade. As for high grade, that's 1 in a billion. Back in his day, in the Middle Heavens world, there were 1 billion people. In the end, fewer than 10 of them achieved high grade. Even those who earned the title of Genius Novice Human Emperor in the novice assessment, very few could obtain a high-grade evaluation. Qin Feng wondered, then what about peak grade? Peak grade is exceptionally rare, with a probability of 1 in 100 billion. Even in the greater worlds, it's difficult to find even one. And the legendary God grade has never been seen before. He once met a high-grade expert who, at level 20, had a combat power rating of 208 stars and participated in the divine martial assessment. But sadly, he fell just a little short in the end. So, he calculated that at level 20, one would need at least 300 stars in combat power to even have a hope of getting a peak grade evaluation. Qin Feng's bloodline concentration was already at 2.93%, but his current combat power was much lower. Luckily, there was still time to improve his strength. At his current bloodline concentration, eating 1 or 2 more dragon's blood fruits would give him a chance to awaken his legacy. Qin Feng was still curious about the War of Myriad Worlds. The so-called War of Myriad Worlds was a battle that occurred once every 1,000 years. In this deathly world, whenever the time comes, whether it's the great heavens, middle heavens, or small heavens, ferocious beasts, spirits, demons, or humans, as long as it's a living thing, it will be dragged into this battle. Victory could lead to godhood, but failure, for the most part, meant fading into dust as if you never existed. There are a few races that manage to cling to existence. However, the heavenly laws are cruel to the defeated. The defeated races are cursed and abandoned by the heavens in this extremely dangerous world of death. Those who bear the curse cannot survive. The old man said that if Qin Feng could break the seal and travel to the greater worlds, he might encounter races that had once been defeated. As Qin Feng listened, he chugged the dragon's blood fruit, and his bloodline concentration reached 3%. His bloodline talent began to evolve, upgrading to D rank, and all of his stats increased by 100 points. Seeing this, the white-haired old man was confident. "You can definitely defeat it. After 1,000 years, I don't have much power left to suppress the monster here. If you can't do it, I'm afraid this novice village will turn into a living hell." Qin Feng was still upgrading his dragon's blood power. His combat power rating soared to 116 stars. Then, it climbed to 130 stars before stopping. A robotic voice announced, "Legacy skill awakening failed. Please continue to persevere." Seeing Qin Feng's disappointment, the old man took out another pile of spirit fruits and said, "If you can't eat them all, just save them for later. If you accumulate enough, you will naturally awaken the dragon soul power and obtain the legacy skill." Seeing the pile of spirit fruits, Qin Feng's jaw dropped. His eyes lit up, but he was also on high alert. He didn't believe there was such a thing as a free lunch in this world, and asked the old man what he really wanted him to do. The old man, however, had no ill intentions. He took out a spirit of gold, saying it could enhance the power of a weapon. He hoped Qin Feng could refine him and then kill the flood dragon. Hearing this, Qin Feng was utterly stunned, and the entire area began to stir. The old man told Qin Feng, "It seems it can't wait any longer. If you don't refine me now, it'll be too late." He could no longer suppress the flood dragon. This spirit of gold, which controlled the profound meaning of gold, took 100 years to condense through special means. It could be fused with a weapon to greatly increase its power, and Qin Feng, respecting his wish, used his infinite extraction ability on the old man. He obtained D-rank wind control, earth mastery, and light control. His metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, the 5 elements talents, all reached B rank. They were fusing, and after a few seconds, the fusion was successful. The 5 elements talent became the A rank talent, 5 elements mastery. His combat power rating had already reached 127 stars. Qin Feng was thrilled to finally have another A-rank combat talent. With this, his overall strength had increased once again. But then, he suddenly realized the old man had turned into a stone statue. Before losing his last breath of life, he still wore a smile and said, "Don't worry." Qin Feng walked towards the altar. He would do this for himself, for all the villagers, and for the white-haired old man who had suppressed the dragon's soul for 1,000 years. He would kill that vile dragon. He placed the king-grade cores one by one into the earth, metal, water, wood, and fire systems. The 5 elemental king-grade cores were complete. An extremely powerful beam of light shot down from the sky onto Qin Feng, then gathered to form a passageway. Immediately after, a flood dragon appeared, looking like it owned the place. It whipped its tail, catching Qin Feng by surprise. Using his true sight eye, he saw that it was a level 20 vile dragon corpse with a combat power of 143 stars. Its appearance, along with the golden chains wrapped around its body, was incredibly menacing. Just one look into its eyes was enough to cause terror. It looked at the statue of the old man who had guarded this place and became enraged. It recognized him as one of the people who had ambushed it back then. They had beaten it and sealed it away for over 1,000 years, and its hatred had reached its peak. It wanted every living creature in this world to be buried with it. It let out a roar that seemed to shake the very heavens and earth. And Qin Feng's final mission was to kill this vile dragon corpse and offer it as a final sacrifice. A colossal wave of celestial energy shot down towards Qin Feng. Seeing this, Little Chick unleashed a blast of fire to block the flood dragon's attack, but it was shattered in a mere second. The force slammed into Qin Feng, forcing him to struggle to defend himself. He engulfed his blade in heavenly hellfire and swung, slashing the attacks apart. The flood dragon roared in anger. To think a mere low-level human could break its dragon claw. What a disgrace. It decided to use its strongest move, gathering all the fire spirit energy in this world. It then opened its mouth to the sky, creating a terrifying sonic wave. The spirits of fire and the ambient energy of the dragon abyss began to converge at the flood dragon's mouth. Its power continuously soared, first by 1,506 stars, then by another 177 stars. Qin Feng watched in horror. This was the ability to control the forces of heaven and earth, a power only an earth-level expert should possess. According to what the old man guarding the Forbidden Palace said before, the Flood Dragon's combat power was still rising continuously, reaching a combat power of 200 stars. With this world-destroying might, the Flood Dragon unleashed a relentless barrage of destruction down on Qin Feng. But it never expected this human to be so fast, actually managing to dodge its assault. Qin Feng had to desperately use his level 3 True Speed, C-rank True Wind, and his Boots of Fortitude, which boosted his speed by 100%. Only then was he able to escape such a rain of power. The stacked effects were comparable to a B-rank speed talent. At the same time, he used a cloning technique to create 2 illusions to misdirect the attacks. The Flood Dragon roared in a frenzy. Insolent brat. Qin Feng quickly closed in on his target. He swung his blade, unleashing a flurry of slashes imbued with heavenly hellfire. But it felt like he was just hacking away at a tank with its ultimate activated. It did absolutely nothing. He realized it was a strange kind of corpse, an undead creature, which is why it wasn't afraid of his blade. This was going to be tough. How do you kill a corpse? Meanwhile, the Flood Dragon continued to crazily spew flames toward him. Qin Feng ran for his life, but the torrent of power kept chasing him, and finally struck. The point of impact instantly erupted into a sea of fire. The Flood Dragon rushed towards the spot, but Qin Feng had already escaped. He felt a strange, law-bending power within this terrifyingly extreme heat. Even his level 4 heavenly hellfire could barely withstand the flood dragon's heaven-piercing dragon flame. To deal with it, he needed a subjugating element. He formed a strange hand seal, and the esoteric art of the 5 elements erupted from behind him. Qin Feng's body turned pure white, radiating a terrifying frosty power. He unleashed a level 5 ice storm, shooting it straight at the flood dragon. The beast opened its mouth to breathe fire, but just then, the ice storm arrived, and so it ended up swallowing the entire attack whole. At the same time, inside that ice storm, Qin Feng had transformed into an arrow of ice and was now inside the flood dragon's throat. He was incredibly pleased with himself. The flesh here was cold and inelastic, but not as tough as its scales. He stretched his hands out to its sides and used Ice Storm to unleash ice spikes from within. But the ice spikes couldn't pierce the flood dragon's stomach and instead shot outwards. It roared in agony. Inside, Qin Feng found that the spikes couldn't penetrate the beast's skin and instead ricocheted back toward his chest. His plan had almost backfired spectacularly. The flood dragon, in agonizing pain, began thrashing wildly, slamming its body against the surrounding rocks, making Qin Feng incredibly nauseous from the violent shaking. It frantically spewed fire, and after a difficult struggle to break through its stomach, Qin Feng finally tore a hole. He ripped it wider with his bare hands and crawled out. The flood dragon was severely wounded by Qin Feng's attack. While inside, he had launched countless ice storms that pierced through its body. Its entire body was riddled with spikes, making it look like a porcupine. He couldn't believe it could possibly survive this. And just as he expected, after being turned into an ice porcupine, the flood dragon fell from the sky in agony, crashing down miserably. Qin Feng had successfully slain the undead flood dragon. He received 100,000 experience points and 1,000 arbiter points. Congratulations on completing the 5 Elements quest with double difficulty. The rewards are also doubled. You receive 1,000 attribute points. At the same time, he was also rewarded with 2 black gold chests. Qin Feng never expected to win so easily. He used a recovery art to heal himself. Suddenly, a tremor shook the surroundings, and the glass-like barrier above shattered into pieces. The system announced, "Congratulations to Village Chief Qin Feng for completing the 5 Elements quest. The spatial seal on Longyuan Village has been lifted. Longyuan Village is now officially connected to the greater world." He was thrilled by this. The vast sky is for the birds to fly, the wide ocean for the fish to leap. From now on, his Longyuan Village would be able to enter the greater world. Although it would be more dangerous, it also meant he could acquire more resources for development. Just then, the flood dragon's body began to glow, making Qin Feng wonder, could it be? Is this thing coming back to life? After a blinding flash of light, its entire body disintegrated, leaving only a skeleton. Its flesh transformed into a level 4 dragon orb. The dragon orb immediately flew into Qin Feng's forehead, and a notification appeared, absorbing Dragon Soul awakening. His dragon bloodline has successfully awakened. He gained 50 points to all stats and inherited the skill, Dragon's Might. Qin Feng tested it out. Dragon's Might is a spiritual skill that unleashes an invisible, sonic soul attack, causing all living creatures and monsters to tremble in fear. It creates a bloodline suppression and has a certain level of aggression. He was thrilled. That last battle wasn't too difficult, but the rewards were incredible. A whopping 1,450 attribute points and 2 gold-tier treasure chests. The Dragon Soul's awakening and inherited skill shot his combat power rating straight up to the 150-star limit. He also didn't forget to use infinite extraction on that flood dragon, obtaining a G-rank wind talent. Since he already had a C-rank 1, the two combined into a B-rank wind talent and awakened a tier 4 talent skill, forming a pair of wind wings on his back. Qin Feng instantly materialized 2 incredibly cool wings. They looked awesome. He was stoked and immediately tried flying into the sky. He shot upwards in an instant, way faster than his old wind god shoes. Getting around in the future was going to be much quicker and more convenient. And now, for his favorite part, opening these 2 gold-tier treasure chests. Just then, Little Chick flew over, amazed to see that Qin Feng could fly too. He found it a bit strange, wondering why it still hadn't changed after eating that red lotus back at the Fire Demon King's place. Suddenly, a robot appeared to congratulate Dragon Abyss Village on completing its mission. It announced the opening of the map, connecting them to the greater world, and rewarded them with a world map. Any newbie villages that failed to complete the map opening mission wouldn't receive this reward. This was the map of the entire world. Once the newbie assessment period ends, it's estimated that all the starter villages will be connected to the same world. When that happens, the competition for resources will definitely become fierce. Dragon Abyss Village, securing this opportunity, was incredibly rare. Qin Feng realized that with this map, he could finish the village competition much faster. The requirement was to reach a population of 1,000, so he'd have to recruit more villagers soon. But first, it was time to crack open these two chests while they were hot. He received a level 5 item, the Heavenly Dragon Armor, and a level 6 item, the Dimensional Void. Coincidentally, his old armor was already broken, so he put the new set on immediately. The stats on this new armor were absolutely insane, increasing his combat power by another 3 stars, bringing his total to 158. Level 5 equipment was no joke, but that wasn't even the best part. The real prize was this level 6 item, the Dimensional Void. Qin Feng was extremely curious about it. The system explained that it was a growable dimensional space, which could be used to cultivate spirit herbs, raise creatures, and even store items. It required a blood bond to claim ownership. So he took out a knife and pricked his finger for a drop of blood. He thought about planting herbs and raising creatures. No matter how you looked at it, this was just like a protagonist cheat item from a cultivation story. He dripped his blood onto the item, and it immediately burst with a brilliant light. The blinding light was followed by a notification. The dimensional space had successfully recognized its master. He could now freely store items, or enter the space with just a thought. With a single thought, Qin Feng stepped inside. He found the space inside was 100 times larger than his storage ring. As he looked around, Qin Feng discovered a complete dragon skeleton, a level 5 material, dropped only by Emperor-grade monsters. He thought this was a pretty cool find, but the most urgent matter was that only 3.5 days remained in the newbie trial. He had to find more villagers. He and Little Chick immediately flew out into the greater world to explore. Soon, he arrived in an area filled with spirit herbs. There were plenty of level 1 spirit herbs here, all easy to harvest. It was clear that resources were everywhere, far more abundant than in his Dragon Abyss village. He decided to check the safety of this forest first before letting his people come to harvest. In an hour of searching, he only encountered 6 monsters, 2 at level 11, 3 at level 12, and 1 at level 21. They were all easy for him to take down. Although monsters were sparse, he made a good discovery. Beasts level 20 and above could be extracted from twice, yielding 3 attribute points each time. He checked back in on his village. The development speed was pretty good. Qin Feng then made an announcement to everyone. Anyone level 8 or higher was to immediately head to his location in the forest to gather resources and medicinal herbs. He told them he'd discovered an incredibly rich area where, for now, only level 11 and level 12 monsters were appearing. He warned them not to venture too deep into the forest, as the dangers lurking there were unknown. Hearing this, the villagers were incredibly excited and set out immediately. Suddenly, deep within the forest behind Qin Feng, a surge of power erupted, making him curious enough to go and investigate. He figured that since Dragon Abyss Village was the first to connect to the outside world, it was impossible for people from other villages to have arrived here first. He guessed they might be survivors from older villages that failed in the World War, and he hoped to meet them to get more information. Meanwhile, a girl dressed in leopard skin was being ambushed by a green wolf. Just as the beautiful girl was about to be devoured by the wolf, Qin Feng appeared at the perfect moment to play the hero. After saving the damsel in distress, the blue wolf, whose meal was stolen, glared at Qin Feng with pure hatred. Qin Feng ordered Xiao Ji to handle it. This time, the wolf was no match for the little chick. Xiao Ji quickly sent it to meet its maker. A few more wolves appeared, only to become target practice for Xiao Ji's fire breath. Suddenly, another native appeared, asking if Qin Feng was the powerful being who had descended 3 days ago. The girl was overjoyed to see this young man and asked, "You're still alive?" The young man told Qin Feng that 4 days ago, the Heavenly Tao had informed his tribe that a new world challenger would be arriving. It had been 1,000 years since they last met a new world challenger, so he was a bit hesitant. Then, both natives knelt on one knee and declared with reverence that Qin Feng was the great savior of their tribe. Qin Feng used his true sight eye to inspect them. They were level 11 and level 10, with combat powers of 28 and 24. Hearing them call him their savior, Qin Feng felt incredibly awkward. Huh? I didn't do anything to save them, did I? He also wondered why these tribespeople had such low combat power, despite their high levels. The girl respectfully took his hand and pointed toward Xiao Ji, who was sitting proudly on the corpses of the blue wolves. The girl said, "You have such a badass chicken, and you saved me from that wolf's jaws. You are the savior of my tribe." The system then asked Qin Feng if he wanted to activate a D-rank mission, save this tribal family. The reward would be their absolute loyalty. He agreed, but he wanted to take care of all the wolves first. Hearing this, the two natives were overjoyed and called him boss. Qin Feng told them to just call him by his name, but they insisted that a savior couldn't be addressed so casually. They had to call him boss. Qin Feng was already getting tired of these two. Meanwhile, a much larger wolf appeared, crackling with bolts of lightning. It seemed to be the alpha of this blue wolf pack. It sniffed out the scent of a human and discovered that its underlings had been slain by one. Enraged, it howled for revenge. All around, the blue wolf pack heard its howl like a battle horn, rousing them and calling them to gather at its location. Soon, an enormous number of blue wolves had gathered around their alpha. It furiously commanded its pack to take revenge on the human race. Back at the tribe's village, the people were shocked to see the two return with Qin Feng. One even dropped a basket of apples as they rushed over, asking why only two had come back. With tears in her eyes, the girl explained that their party had encountered the wolf pack. Only the two of them made it back. The others had all been devoured. Qin Feng then retrieved their bodies from his storage space. The villagers were overcome with emotion, rushing to embrace the bodies of their loved ones and weep. This clan came from a world called the Qi Sheng Kingdom and had been defeated in the Great War of 10,000 Worlds. The millions of survivors were scattered across various major worlds by the Heavenly Tao to accept their punishment. Their talents couldn't be awakened, their skills couldn't reach max level, and they could only ascend to level 15. After more than 1,000 years, the Qi clan had dwindled to just over 300 people. Just then, the elderly village chief came forward to thank Qin Feng for helping the Qi clan bring back the bodies of their dead. Before he could ask for Qin Feng's name, his grandson rushed over, telling his grandpa that Lord Qin Feng was the newly descended challenger of 10,000 worlds, their savior. It seemed they were finally going to be saved. The grandfather looked at Qin Feng's expression and thought to himself, "He doesn't look happy. Is there a hidden story here?" He then invited him to speak somewhere more private. He explained that while the appearance of a new challenger meant their tribe could be saved, it was mostly just empty talk. Each new elder receives a contract from the previous one. The contract clearly states that not all challengers are qualified to be their rescuer. They must obtain the title of Newbie Human Emperor Village Chief. And as far as he knew, only 1 in a billion people could meet both requirements in just 7 short days. Qi Yun and Qi Yue didn't know this, which is why they surprised you, my lord. Please forgive them. Qin Feng, however, was completely confident. If that was all it took, he easily qualified. With that, he showed the old man his title, Longyan Village Chief, Qin Feng, the newbie human emperor. The old man couldn't believe his eyes and suddenly burst into tears like a child. A 1 in a billion chance, and he was actually witnessing it. Suddenly, there was a commotion. It seemed the wolf pack had arrived to attack. As fast as the wind, the pack descended, seeking revenge. Seeing this, the terrified villagers scattered and fled. The elder shouted for everyone not to panic, to grab their weapons and gather together. At some point, Qin Feng had already activated his wings and soared into the sky. He felt their timing was perfect. He appeared majestically before the alpha wolf. He told Xiao Ji to deal with the smaller wolves later, and not to let a single one escape. Then, Qin Feng immediately unleashed the skill Ice Storm. Instantly, streaks of light rained down. Ice arrows plunged into the ground, killing the wolves in an instant. Qin Feng then activated his soul extraction skill. He had already extracted enough wolf souls. These new corpses were worthless to him. Just then, the elder, Qi Shan, approached respectfully. "We greet the master." Before Qin Feng could even understand what was happening, everyone present dropped to their knees in unison. They greeted him as their master in one voice. The elder then presented him with a master-servant contract bestowed by the Heavenly Tao, which only required a single drop of blood to seal the clan pact. He declared himself to be Qin Feng's servant, absolutely loyal and willing to follow His Majesty, the human emperor, to conquer the world and assist him in achieving victory in the War of 10,000 Realms. Qin Feng figured that with the binding contract from the Heavenly Tao, their loyalty would be even greater than that of his own Longyuan village residents. For him, this was a win-win situation, with absolutely no downsides. He immediately agreed and offered his blood. As the drop fell onto the contract, the system instantly announced the pact was sealed. Success. The entire Qi clan, all 327 of them, had become Qin Feng's loyal servants, automatically gaining the status of Longyuan villagers. At the same time, the 1,000-year punishment of the Qi clan was lifted, along with their level restrictions. Their talents began to awaken. Because of this, everyone present received a talent, skill, and they were incredibly excited about their new powers, eagerly showing them off to one another. They could also now open the heavenly Tao's light, also known as the system. Many of them leveled up to level 30, which in turn gave Qin Feng more attribute points. But man, this was getting tiring. A constant stream of lightning bolts kept striking his head, which was really starting to piss him off. Does it really have to be this way? Just add the attribute points directly and be done with it. For crying out loud. Just then, Xiaoji spoke up, saying it felt like it was about to level up and needed to take a nap. Qin Feng had no idea what was going on, but as soon as the chicken finished speaking, it fell into a deep sleep as if it were dead. The system then explained that his battle pet was leveling up, and he should place it in a safe place to nurture and protect it. A suitable safe place was the endless space, which was completely secure. The system also reminded him that his new servants had obtained the status of Longyuan villagers. Please select a location to place the novice log cabins. He figured, since the Qixi clan had lived here for over 1,000 years, moving them somewhere else might not be suitable. Just put them right here. And instantly, brand new log cabins appeared on the spot. Qin Feng had completed the Rescue the Lost Clan quest, earning a reward of 300 attribute points and the authority to build a level 1 teleportation array. He saw that Longyuan village had now met all the requirements to upgrade to a level 2 village, now unlocking the authority to build a protection altar. The level 5 dragon bones from the extinction dragon should work just fine. This teleportation array could instantly transport people within a 1,000-mile radius, and he successfully created it. He placed the arrays at the Longyuan village headquarters and the Qixi clan's village. He then built the protection altar at the Longyuan village headquarters and activated it. Longyuan village had now met the standards to become a level 2 village and could be upgraded. At that moment, a few more people reached a combat power of 30 stars, so he received an additional 10 attribute points for each of them. But Qin Feng couldn't take it anymore and finally snapped, yelling at the system, "Do you really have to strike me with lightning every single time?" For now, his accumulated rewards had reached 4,700 free attribute points. He immediately allocated them, 1,000 into strength, 1,000 into constitution, 1,000 into spirit power, and 1,700 into agility. Qin Feng's combat rating soared to 196 stars. At his half-step Earth rank level, he could probably pass the novice assessment now. Time to see what changes came with the level 2 village upgrade. Wow, the teleportation array now had 205 destinations. What's this? The population also exceeded 5,000 people. Energy costs were halved, and the villagers' leveling speed was doubled. 3 new professions were unlocked: mining, tailoring, and apothecary. Since his 5 elements talent covered everything, these 3 life skills were all learnable. Coincidentally, these 3 professions were related to the upgrade conditions for level 4 log cabins. He figured he should announce the requirements for a level 3 village. The village competition was still ongoing, so he couldn't afford to slack off. A notification board appeared, and everyone started discussing it. The difficulty had tripled this time, making it ridiculously hard. The requirement for level 10 experts was the toughest part, but they'd already met it. Many felt it was manageable, but the population still needed to reach 1,800. Looks like Boss Qin Feng will have to go to other villages in the Dragon Country to recruit more people. He told them they still had 3.5 days left, and that everyone should work hard together. He then went to say goodbye to Elder Qishan, but the old man was completely absorbed in his new technology and powers, and didn't even notice him. Oh well, whatever, he thought. He tried talking to some others, but every single one of them was busy exploring their own new powers. Alright, forget it. You guys just take your time getting used to the system and your talents. He then left, but not without being struck by more lightning bolts, as even more villagers reached a combat power of 30 stars. Qin Feng thought to himself, today is already the replies. 4th day. Other villages probably have level 4 and level 5 people by now. If I keep going at this pace, we're just waiting to die. The sooner I get to the other villages, the more hope there is of saving them. If I'm a day or two late, even with Longyuan village's abundant resources, we won't be able to recover. My combat power is still far from 300 stars. If I can't get a top-tier item from the Sacred Martial Arts assessment, then the War of 10,000 Realms is completely unwinnable. The entire Dragon Country will be lost. Suddenly, as he was flying, his path was blocked by a young man, trying a sneak attack, but he picked the wrong damn guy. Qin Feng instantly drew his sword to parry the blow, This guy, acting like Gaara from Naruto, forms a sand Rasengan in his hand with a smug grin and fires sand bullets at him. Qin Feng just sees it as a pathetic little trick. He asks the man, "Where did you come from to challenge me?" At the same time, with one clean slash, he shatters that knockoff Rasengan. But this guy wasn't a pushover. He creates another bunch of sand orbs in his hands, taunting, "Got lucky, did we? That won't happen again." But before the attack could even connect, Qin Feng says coldly, "I don't have time to play with you." And just like that, he had already created 2 clones that rushed forward and sliced the wannabe Gaara in half. Before the guy could even finish his attack, he was already sent to the afterlife, just like Kakashi of the Sand Village. At the same time, Qin Feng successfully killed the Earth-level Guardian, receiving 1 million experience points and 3,207 attribute points. This made Qin Feng jump. Holy crap, that's a lot. 1 million experience points? No way. He couldn't believe it, because that guy was a total weakling. Guess it's true what they say. Villains always die from running their mouths too much. The system bot also explained that this person was a guardian, a descendant of the Kangtu clan, one of the top 1,000 participants who failed in the Great War of 10,000 Realms. Challengers and guardians are adversaries. Killing the opponent yields great rewards. The amount of reward you get depends on the target's strength and rank. Qin Feng thought if a few more of these guys showed up, it would be awesome. He could farm them all day. The bot also reminded Qin Feng to be careful, as the guardians were extremely dangerous and he should stay vigilant. Just as the warning came, a red-haired man dressed just like the Gaara wannabe appeared like a gust of wind, rushing towards him. He had witnessed the death of Shu Wu just now, an Earth-level expert, killed in an instant. Furious, he threw his spear towards Qin Feng, muttering to himself, "This one cannot be left alive." In contrast, our hero was extremely confident. "Looks like my luck is doubling down." Today was shaping up to be a great day. Maybe he'd grab a couple of skewers on the way home to celebrate. With that, he effortlessly snapped the man's spear. The guy arrogantly claimed that Qin Feng was, at best, a half-step Earth-level expert. Just a mantis trying to stop a chariot, an egg throwing itself against a rock. Saying that, he flew into the sky, his hands forming a seal for the legacy skill, 1,000-pound weight. A long chain of earth and rock shot out, wrapping around Qin Feng's leg. Very quickly, cracks in the ground below grabbed his feet, immobilizing him. Out of nowhere, the guy had used something like Shinra Tensei from Naruto to create a massive sphere of earth, planning to crush Qin Feng. A torrent of rock and dirt rained down. It looked like Qin Feng was about to be turned into meat paste, but he was still holding it up from below, struggling desperately to support the massive rock. He thought to himself, "Damn, this is tough. How did this guy's combat power suddenly spike to 341? His limbs were tied down, and he couldn't use Hellfire or Ice Storm. The only thing he could use was Phantom Clone. In a flash, 2 of his clones shot out to intercept the red-haired man. He thought, "My Phantom clones only have half my strength. They won't be able to hold this old geezer for long. I need to find a way to get out of this." The 2 clones took turns keeping the red-haired man busy. Their sharp blades sliced down, but with only the power of clones, the red-haired man quickly dispelled them both. He charged directly with his sword towards Qin Feng, who was still trapped under the boulder. Just when it seemed like the red-haired man was about to turn him into a eunuch, a voice suddenly called out, "Master, let me out." It turned out to be Xiaoji's voice. She had successfully evolved into a loli. Xiaoji immediately rushed forward to block the red-haired man's attack. She created a defensive barrier to shield herself and her master, which made Qin Feng ask curiously, "Who is this little girl?" Xiaoji didn't have time to explain and just said, "Qin Feng, grab my tail, quick." "Huh? What tail?" And besides, he was completely tied up. Seeing this, Xiaoji scolded him. "You're so pathetic. Then just use your teeth and bite my tail tight." "Seriously? Bite it with his mouth?" Xiaoji urged him repeatedly. "Hurry your ass up. I can't hold on much longer." Just as the red-haired man's sword shattered Xiaoji's defensive barrier, Qin Feng bit down on her chicken tail, and with that, a cloud of dust erupted, and the 2 of them teleported away. But Xiaoji's instant teleportation didn't go far. They had to get away fast. As soon as he grabbed Xiaoji, they both teleported and vanished. The red-haired man gave chase, but immediately lost sight of them. Their auras had vanished too. He frantically searched for them, shouting nonsense like, "Where are you hiding? Come out now." "They're hiding, you moron. Who would be dumb enough to come out and let you kill them?" He perched on a pine tree branch, thinking, "There's no way that Qin Feng could have teleported out of my sensory range." He figured that Qin Feng must have used an item obtained from the Heavenly Tao to escape, so he decided to wait there, playing the waiting game. Meanwhile, in some other space, Qin Feng couldn't help but ask in surprise. Xiaoji, is that you? Xiaoji replied in a proud tone. Of course it is. Who else in this world has such beautiful feathers and these captivating eyes besides me, Xiaoji? The system bot also explained that after absorbing the raging flame Red Lotus, it helped Xiaoji achieve human form ahead of schedule. Qin Feng always thought Xiaoji was a dude, but to his shock, he is actually a lowly. Man, he is so screwed. He even remembers bathing with him before. And that is never, ever happening again. Hearing this, a very confused Xiaoji just looked on sluggishly. It's true, everything around him is the same, only people change. But then, he remembered something important. Those two mysterious, cloaked figures. Both of them, were Earth rank. It's a good thing they ran into him. Anyone else would have been killed long ago. It's too dangerous to go out now. Better to stay here and increase my combat power first. Qin Feng then took out all of his tools, medicinal herbs, and weapons. After absorbing it, his dragon blood concentration increased to 10%. His bloodline talent successfully evolved from D rank to C rank. Because of this, his strength stat also increased by 200 points. His agility and spirit also went up by 200, and his dragon's might skill was enhanced tenfold. His beast taming art could now increase his battle pet's combat power by 60%. This means Xiaoji could now unleash a combat power of 180 stars. He checked his status and saw he was now level 17 with a combat rating of 299 stars. Not bad at all. His two shadow clones each had a combat power of 150 stars. In this state, he could finally take on that red-haired guy. Filled with confidence, Qin Feng and Xiaoji headed out to face the challenge. A spatial teleportation portal shot both of them out from the bushes. He realized the red-haired guy was already waiting. The moment he stepped out, the man fired a blast down at him, but Qin Feng dodged just in time. But when he looked over, something was strange. Why was he surrounded by a bunch of punks with hair in all sorts of crazy colors, pink, blue, orange, you name it? They were forming hand seals, as if buffing the red-haired man's power. He had already prepared a continuous formation array. Qin Feng realized this was getting a little over the top. Just then, they completed their secret art, creating a massive power called World Annihilation. It was an insanely massive sphere of power. It shot towards our protagonist, instantly exploding and creating a powerful sandstorm that blasted outwards in all directions. So this was the Shang clan's combination skill. It required the cooperation of many clan members to draw out the spiritual energy of the earth. The energy passed through their bodies, was filtered by their organs, and was refined into its purest form. An Earth rank expert would then draw out all of this energy. The power from the crowd was then concentrated into a spirit ball, its energy enhanced tenfold. Although the destructive force of world annihilation was immense, it had one limitation: the user would lose all their strength and be unable to act for 10 seconds. If this one attack failed to kill the opponent, they would be left completely vulnerable. Just as the red-haired man was feeling confident of his victory, believing no one could survive a direct hit from world annihilation, the massive sphere of power and earth suddenly exploded into pieces. Flying out from the blast was a completely unharmed Qin Feng, who had already sent his clone, and Xiaoji charging toward them. Xiaoji unleashed a sea of flames, incinerating the minions. Qin Feng took the opportunity to use the Shadow Slash from his assassination skill. He wiped out all the grunts and their red-haired leader. At this point, the leader still had 5 seconds before he could use his powers again. Engulfed in Xiaoji's sea of flames, he couldn't believe it. How was this possible? How could he have survived world annihilation? I have to run now, or I'm dead meat. Of course, Qin Feng wasn't about to miss this chance. An opportunity this good couldn't be wasted. He poured all his strength into a punch, aiming to send the guy straight to the emergency room. But the guy was fast, managing to escape and scramble into the ground to flee. All that could be seen was a stream of earth energy moving below the surface. It moved incredibly fast, like a snake. Seeing this, Qin Feng told Xiaoji to collect all the bodies here into storage bags. He himself would give chase from above, but man, that guy was ridiculously fast. Even with his wind wings, he couldn't catch up. Looking down, he could only see the direction the guy was moving. The man fled into a nearby village and created a teleportation array. Holding a sphere in his hand, he crushed it and yelled arrogantly back at Qin Feng, "Just you wait, you brat. Sooner or later, the grand army of the Shang clan will level your village to the ground." Qin Feng quickly dived down to attack, trying to stop him, but this guy was unbelievably good at running away. He was so close to getting a huge amount of experience and attribute points. What a shame. The system then explained that the teleportation array in Dapua town was in perfect condition. It advised him to use a resource card to activate the teleportation link between the two locations. Qin Feng thought, if I link these two places, this teleportation array is in the Shang clan's territory. If our people were to run into them, it wouldn't just be a fierce battle for the Longyuan villagers, it would be a one-sided slaughter. Right now, his villagers were simply no match for the Shang clan. He asked the system, if I link the teleportation arrays, can the Shang clan use this one to get to Longyuan village? The system replied, you can rest assured. Other than the villagers of Longyuan village, no one can use the teleportation array to enter the village. Alright, that's good. He then activated the teleportation link between Longyuan village and Dapua town. Dapua was a desolate, ancient town. Since the situation there was unknown, he told everyone not to teleport there for the time being. The villagers obediently followed his orders. He didn't dare say another word back. Qin Feng then announced that they were approaching the Myriad Phenomena Palace and told everyone to get their gear ready. Everyone, be on your guard. Our journey ahead is guaranteed to be filled with even more hardships and new challenges waiting for us. I've got to pick up the pace to get Longyan village to level 3 as soon as possible. By now, he and Xiaoji had already arrived at Tongtian Lake. The tiny Xiaoji perched on Qin Feng's head, flying with incredible arrogance. Qin Feng recalled the words of the Forbidden Land's guardian. The divine palace of myriad forms floats high above Tongtian Lake. Challengers who can't fly and want to reach the palace must use this rope ladder. If you lose your grip and fall, it's like a blind man riding a blind horse. One slip, and it's game over. In a flash, a towering palace appeared, along with a mutated beast, the level 30 flying feathered serpent. Its combat rating was only 100 stars. It arrogantly declared itself the guardian of this hall, and that it would test Qin Feng's strength. He just said softly, Xiaoji, teach this thing a lesson. Instantly, fireballs launched, turning the ice serpent into a well-done steak. And just like that, he passed the guardian spirit's trial and could enter the first heaven. From now on, he could freely enter and exit the first hall without being blocked by a guardian spirit. The divine palace of myriad forms is divided into 9 levels. Each level has its own guardian spirit. The first heaven is also called the Hall of Heavenly Secrets, where you can accept all sorts of different missions. Qin Feng stepped inside. The system also prompted him that he could now accept missions, but killing was forbidden here. Qin Feng walked further in. A few people were already there, all of them keepers of the human emperor. There were 12 people from the greater worlds, 4 from the middle worlds, and 1 person from a lesser world, which was, of course, Qin Feng. It seems the divine palace of myriad forms is just a legend in the greater worlds. As they entered the great gate of the divine palace, everyone was instantly teleported to the one and only true divine palace. A few people there started gossiping about Qin Feng. He looks like a total rookie. They guessed he came from a lesser world. It was unbelievable, considering the talent and potential of humans from lesser worlds. They figured he must have gotten here through sheer luck. But to earn the title of Keeper of the Human Emperor, well, that was actually something. The blonde woman found the young man interesting. She thought, even though he's from a lesser world, making him the weakest one here, a pretty face like that is exactly the kind of pilot this old jet has been looking for. Once she becomes the empress of the greater world, she wouldn't hesitate to take him into her harem and shower him with affection. Man, this woman's not bad on the eyes, but who knew she was so damn thirsty? I wonder if there are any girls like that in the real world. If so, hit up the admin. Heh. Qin Feng just stared at this woman's lovesick expression, feeling a little overwhelmed. And now, it was this old sorcerer's turn to present his divine artifact. He received a B-rank serendipity mission. Getting a B-rank mission tablet, the old man felt his luck was pretty good. All that grinding day and night wasn't for nothing. His lucky break had finally arrived. The reward for a B-rank mission was Yangtze iron. Watching from the side, Qin Feng thought it looked pretty good. He wondered if his hidden mission would be B-rank. But to get a mission tablet, you need a divine artifact. He didn't have one, which was honestly kinda lame. He saw a monk walk out, complaining that he only got the lowest D-rank mission. Qin Feng glanced at the object the monk was fiddling with in his hand and felt it was incredibly familiar. Where had he seen that before? Next up was the Sagittarius girl. She was overjoyed to receive a D-rank mission. The old sorcerer curiously asked her what divine artifact she offered. When he learned it was a demon's heart core, he was stunned. You mean you got it from a demon-slaying mission? He had also received a demon mission before, but failed to get its heart core. The Sagittarius girl claimed her demon mission was twice as hard. That demon was way stronger than a normal one. She boasted that, in the end, it was still no match for her, and now, it was Qin Feng's turn. A lot of people were waiting eagerly to see what kind of opportunity the guy from the lesser world would get. They whispered among themselves, betting it would just be an E-rank mission. He walked up and placed his hand on the stone pedestal. He finally remembered, wasn't the bald guy's artifact the gauntlet of the emissary of light? The very same item he had traded before. Because he had already extracted its power once, its appearance had changed, which is why he didn't recognize it at first. From his storage bag, Qin Feng took out 3 divine artifacts: the heart's blood from a demon, the wrist guards, and the bracelet of the emissary of light. The moment the altar absorbed the 3 divine artifacts, a massive tremor shook the hall. He had received a C-rank mission tablet, a D-rank one, and, most importantly, an S-rank one. Seeing 3 pop up at once like it was nothing, the crowd here couldn't believe their eyes. No freaking way. Qin Feng couldn't care less. He walked away with a cold and arrogant look, ignoring everyone's whispers. They couldn't believe this was a person from a lesser world. Was he using some kind of game hack? He's definitely going to have a spot in the future. Myriad Worlds War, someone said. Hearing this, a young man with purple hair spoke up. Don't praise him too much. S-rank missions aren't that easy. There's no guarantee he'll even succeed. The blonde woman, who had taken a liking to Qin Feng's handsome face, immediately chimed in. Oh, is someone jealous? That little brother is not only way better looking than you, but even his opportunities put you to shame. This pathetic display of yours is just laughable. Even a grand cosmic system like you should be ashamed. Qin Feng had already stepped outside. He figured that C-rank missions and above were likely part of a quest chain. Once you start one, you're locked into doing them one after another. If there's a time limit, that would be a real pain. Suddenly, the entire temple grew hazy and vanished right before our protagonist's eyes, leaving him completely stunned. It turns out that with the first rays of dawn, the temple slowly materializes, and as the last rays of sunset fade, the temple slowly disappears. Meanwhile, over with the Kang clan, the red-haired guy who fought Qin Feng earlier was discussing things with his brethren. They'd identified that mysterious young man as a challenger. That's because when Qin Feng killed their clansman, a white light entered his body. This white light is a phenomenon that only appears when a challenger kills a guardian. But they were puzzled. The novice trials were already over, so how could such a powerful challenger just pop out of nowhere? After all, the foundation and talent of humans from the lesser worlds are incredibly low. They wondered if the red-haired guy, Kuramatsu, had seen things wrong. Hearing this, he got furious, insisting he wasn't lying. He swore on his life that everything he said was the absolute truth, without a single falsehood. Turns out, this guy was an elder of the Kang clan. The other elders started murmuring, shocked that the man still had the strength to fight after being hit by their clan's annihilation breath technique. That guy has to be at least a high-tier Earth-rank expert. To have such power at such a young age, and to come from a lesser world with no special background, he must have stumbled upon some great fortune. Delays could bring trouble. They agreed this guy couldn't be left alive. The redhead recalled that during his fight with Qin Feng, he didn't sense him using the power of heaven and earth. But if he wasn't an Earth-rank expert, how could he be so strong? After thinking it over, the clan chief made his decision. A new challenger has appeared today. As guardians, they must do everything in their power to kill these challengers and claim the great rewards they carry. This one is extremely cunning, and his strength is immeasurable, so they must be careful. His order was clear. If the challenger appears near Moon Treading Town, his clan will use it as the starting point for their search. He may be powerful alone, but he can't possibly stop an entire army. His army might even uncover the faction backing that man, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. He believed that by killing all the challengers in the village, his Kang clan's power would rise to a whole new level. Having gained the opportunity to participate in the Great War of 10,000 Realms, he ordered each branch to provide 300 men, and the main headquarters to provide 500. Tomorrow at dawn, they will assemble a grand army of 3,000 and march directly on Moon Treading Town. With that matter settled, Kuramatsu also stepped outside. His young son, filled with curiosity, asked, "Dad, why are we going to Moon Treading Town tomorrow morning? Couldn't we launch a surprise attack under the cover of darkness?" Kuramatsu just gazed into the distance and said, "My son, you are inexperienced. You've never been to Moon Treading Town, so you wouldn't understand. Hidden within the all-reaching lake is a mysterious monster. Every time night falls, it summons the vengeful spirits of those who died, wrongful deaths from the earth, from the bottom of the lake, from deep within the forest, to kill every living thing they see. And Moon Treading Town, being closest to the all-reaching lake, becomes a terrifying domain of ghouls. Not even an Earth-rank expert would dare to enter it after dark. Meanwhile, Qin Feng had already arrived in moon-treading town. A hot babe was trying to solicit some other guy when she spotted Qin Feng, who looked pretty well off. A high roller had come to play. The girl immediately approached him. "Well, hello there, handsome. A face like yours is hard to forget." Her hand started to get a little grabby as she purred. "How about you and I have some fun?" Qin Feng activated his heavenly eye to see the truth. And holy crap. This was a twisted village full of maggots and ghouls. Even the girl hitting on him was a hideous monster. She seemed to realize that he might have seen through her disguise. Her expression twisted, like she wanted to eat our hero alive. Qin Feng confidently stepped back and said, "You want to play games with me? I knew you weren't human in the blink of an eye." Seeing she'd been exposed, she let out a maniacal laugh. Then, the people around them all began to transform grotesquely, chanting in unison, "He knows! Eat him! Eat him!" Countless disgusting ghouls revealed their true forms. The girl from before shot a bony spike from her mouth, flying straight at our hero. He instantly activated his blazing flames, enveloping his entire body for defense and knocking the bone spike away. Then, a barrage of sharp bones shot towards Qin Feng, forcing him to use his phantom shadow steps to continuously dodge before grabbing the bone chains with his bare hands. Channeling his blazing flames, he sent them flying to incinerate the ghouls' souls. Countless ghouls swarmed him like a zombie apocalypse, with their vacant eyes and foolish grins. Qin Feng found it all to be a real hassle, but for some reason, his hellfire was unable to kill these horrific monsters. Cutting back to the red-haired guy from the Kang clan, he was warning his son, "The ghouls in Moon-treading Town are mindless creatures, caught between life and death. They have no physical form, only a single sliver of soul anchoring them to reality. Physical attacks have no real effect on them. Against these things, normal attacks are useless. At best, they'll just dissolve into a puff of smoke. It's completely pointless. A single one poses no threat, but when they swarm together, they create a special kind of resonance." And Qin Feng was facing that very thing. It seems this is what truly terrifies even Earth-rank experts. The monsters kept smiling their idiotic grins, letting out a demonic sound that radiated outwards, shattering the very ground and rocks around them. Facing this, Qin Feng felt as if his soul was being ripped from his body. The resonance from these ghouls could attack the soul and shatter one's consciousness. Once the victim's soul is scattered, the ghouls swarm in to devour it. These were the ghost grass. Despite only being level 33 with a combat power under 150 stars, this was the reason no one dared to mess with them. As Qin Feng watched the horde of ghouls rush in to devour his soul, he suddenly snapped back to his senses. He summoned Raging Thunder's judgment, and the entire sky erupted in a storm. Massive bolts of lightning rained down, obliterating the ghoulish monsters. And a shower of experience points poured into Qin Feng. His adjudicator class successfully leveled up to 8, granting him 80 attribute points. It was a sad fate to become a ghost grass, unable to enter the cycle of reincarnation. The ghouls had been turned into charred black husks by the lightning. Qin Feng scoffed. "Just a bunch of worthless ghouls trying to throw an egg at a rock. I'm practically hacking the game at this point. What chance do you even have?" As he walked, Qin Feng continuously called down his Raging Thunder's judgment. The ground and rocks exploded in a fiery, electrified mess. He figured he'd just let this pure, righteous lightning power cleanse them all. By this point, Qin Feng had already leveled up to 18, and his combat power had reached 320 stars. But just then, a stream of sinister green energy shot towards Qin Feng from out of nowhere. He couldn't react in time, as he was still busy picking up his loot. He scrambled to escape the blast, but suddenly, his entire being was transported to a modern world, fully dressed in a suit, with dress shoes and the works. Before he could even process why he'd suddenly appeared in an office, he glanced in a mirror and saw that it was still his own reflection. But before he could gather his thoughts, a colleague walked up to him. "What are you doing standing there spacing out? The CEO is looking for you." "The CEO?" Qin Feng walked into the director's office. Looking at this beauty, you'd think our hero had been dropped into some kind of action rom-com, like The Lucky Employee and His Capable Boss. She praised Qin Feng for his excellent work performance recently. The company had decided to promote him to project manager. Qin Feng just gave a cold thank you. Everyone around him enthusiastically congratulated him on the promotion, talking about parties and celebrations. But he suddenly felt like something was missing on his head, though he couldn't remember what it was. And then, just as suddenly, his whole body snapped back to reality. He was back in the middle of a demonic torrent. It turns out Xiao Shi had helped him by activating a defensive shield and calling him back to his senses. But before he could fully wake up, the illusion washed over him again. He opened his eyes to find himself back in the past, before he'd ever come to this world, standing at a city intersection. There was that blonde girl from the Great Divine Hall, taking her dog for a walk. Wait, scratch that. She's walking the pink-haired girl. This is like a special bonus chapter. Qin Feng felt a strange sense of unease. The city, the wide streets, all these people. He couldn't understand why everything felt so unreal. His friends didn't feel like his friends, and his family wasn't the same. He just felt an endless loneliness and emptiness, like some heartbroken sad boy. He'd begun to suspect there was something wrong with his mind, but he had no one he could talk to about it. Suddenly, everyone started panicking and looking up at the sky. It was a bizarre swarm of winged serpents. This scene felt all too familiar to him. Then, the red-haired guy he'd fought before appeared, perched arrogantly atop one of the serpents. He declared, "People of Earth, this planet does not belong to you, so disappear." And from the sky, the sand arrows he created rained down like a cursed storm, obliterating cars and sending the people below fleeing in chaos. The people couldn't escape the frenzied attack and were wiped out. Even Qin Feng was desperately struggling just to dodge. Suddenly, a voice echoed from deep within him. "They are nothing but your defeated enemies. Kill them." Qin Feng stood there, completely baffled. What kind of sick joke is this? How could I possibly defeat them? Just then, a sand arrow shot straight for him, but all he could do was squeeze his eyes shut in fear, waiting for death. Before he could wake up, the image of Xiaoxi appeared once more. She created a shield to block the attack for him, her voice trembling as she cried out for her master. And from nowhere, Qin Feng's familiar sword appeared in his hand. With just a few swings, he cut down the entire swarm of serpents in the sky. He completely annihilated all of them, but it was out of the frying pan and into the fire as he was suddenly back in his body at the office. His mind swirled with thoughts. Is this place my real home? Lu Xuan, Lu Yuan, Qi Yue, the Kang clan, Xiao Shi. These names kept swirling in his head. It seemed that just as he broke through the first layer of the illusion, he had fallen right into the second. Qin Feng realized this illusion could use people, objects, and events from his own memories to attack him. Qin Feng realized this illusion could use people, objects, and events from his own memories to attack him. If they're provoking him like this, their ultimate goal must be to kill him inside this illusory realm. Just then, someone takes aim at Qin Feng through a scope, trying to assassinate him. He realizes the next attack is probably coming any second. The moment the shot is fired, a squad of soldiers in full combat gear appears. They advance on Qin Feng's ruined building, ready to hunt him down. But from within the smoke and dust, Qin Feng emerges completely unscathed. He's actually amused by this, finding the whole experience quite interesting. You've abandoned the powers of the death realm, and you think you can kill me with modern weapons? The trembling soldiers radio for backup, but before they can get a response, grotesque purple hands erupt from Qin Feng's body. Turns out, he was curious to see just how well his powers would stack up against modern weaponry anyway. The soldiers frantically open fire on the purple hands, but the bullets have no effect. They try to run for their lives, but it's already too late. The entire squad is snatched up by those eerie purple appendages. Even the rounds they fire directly at Qin Feng are completely useless. Man, talk about a system hack. He never expected to be able to control bombs and bullets this easily. A grenade is tossed his way, but are they serious? The explosive power of a grenade is terrifying, sure, but Qin Feng simply throws up a shield and blocks it without any effort. Below the building, artillery cannons have been set up, and a voice booms out at Qin Feng. You are surrounded. Drop your weapon immediately. Snipers are also in position all around you. Countless laser sights cover our main character's body. Qin Feng is actually surprised. These guys brought out battlefield-grade weapons, including tanks. He instantly deploys his wings, launching himself from the building and diving straight down. As for the tanks, Qin Feng shatters one of them with a single punch. The remaining tanks all aim their cannons at him. The moment they open fire, Qin Feng has already put up his shield. He confidently leaps onto one of the vehicles, the Dark Emissary's domain, under the Arbiter's control. He has the aura of a false arbiter. All I need is him and her. Before she can finish, a shockwave of power erupts from Qin Feng, sending the girl stumbling backward. From within the blast, Qin Feng unleashes a vortex, firing countless sharp spikes at the woman. She scrambles desperately to dodge the attack. She silently curses the bastard. He's just so damn relentless. Even if you like the guy, this is the first time you've met. What a total headache. But she's no pushover. She launches herself at Qin Feng to attack. A single punch sends him flying into a cliff face, shattering the stone, but he refuses to back down, instantly rushing back in to retaliate. He unleashes a powerful energy blast, but she dodges it. Just as she moves, however, she's ensnared by a red thread that binds her very soul. He and his clone then charge in, unleashing a frantic flurry of slashes. The woman barely manages to parry the attacks and escape, absolutely seething with rage. This fighting style is completely reckless. He's insane. Before she can even recover from the last assault, swords materialize in the air and rain down, aiming to impale her. And just like that, the beautiful lady dies before she even knows what hit her, taking 8th place. Qin Feng, however, is still furious about being trapped in her illusion. That'll teach you for trying a sneak attack. The system congratulates him for successfully killing the level 35 mutated dark being. He receives 1 million experience points, an evil core, and 3 gold chests. He also gains 5,000 arbiter stat points and loots a divine class holy relic, the Dark God's Seal. Qin Feng figures she must have sensed the false arbiter power inside him and wanted to take it for herself. That's why she used her demonic arts to trap him in that illusion, hoping to kill and absorb him. But yeah, fat chance of that happening. That illusion did make him realize something about himself, though. He used to be an ordinary person, his life like a wind-up toy, repeating the same monotonous routine every single day. The appearance of the Death Realm changed everything. Now, he has the strength to protect those who matter to him, and the ability to take whatever he wants. As he thinks this, he absorbs all the skills from the soldiers he just defeated. He acquires the A-rank skills, Dark Law and Dark Mist Transformation. He wants to become a truly transcendent being. Just then, sharp shards of ice begin to sprout from the ground, like blades of grass. Looking into the distance, he sees some kind of temple rising up. Qin Feng heads inside. The place feels like a fortune teller's shop. He recognizes the same aura as the mutated dark being he just fought, and is sure this was her hideout. The furnace is a Dragon Phoenix bipolar furnace, a level 5 alchemy cauldron. It increases the pill refinement success rate by 200%, enhances medicinal ingredients by 100%, and reduces refinement time by 100%. What a score! He can't believe he just snagged a level 5 alchemy furnace. This mutated dark being was an alchemist, with all the priceless ingredients lying around. Qin Feng feels like he's hit the absolute jackpot. But wait, something's wrong. These are all failed pills. Each dud is only worth a single contribution point. The system asks if he wants to contribute them. 1,000 pills, and not a single decent one in the bunch. Looks like that woman was all talk and no skill, completely useless. Oh well, it's still 1,000 contribution points. Every little bit helps, I guess. But then, he gets an idea. Using his purification skill, he successfully refines all the impurities and toxins from the failed pills. And just like that, its quality changed to a grade 1 yellow crystal. Never expecting his skill to be so useful, he downed it in one go. After consuming the grade 1 yellow crystal, all of his stats increased by 11, and his spiritual power went up by 7. For any user, the maximum limit for yellow crystal pills is between 8 to 10. Any more than that and you'll build up a resistance. Not bad at all. One yellow crystal pill was worth 18 attribute points. A grade 1 pill was even more potent than a grade 2 spirit herb. He immediately started refining everything he had. He decided to refine it all, turning these useless items into treasures. He'd use them until he hit the limit. Then he'd bring the rest back for his villagers in Longyuan village. What a huge win. Not only would it boost his prestige as the village chief, but it would also encourage the villagers to contribute more. It was still a while until dawn, so he decided to check his quests first. He took out the EX rank quest token. He activated the quest called God Tier Village, which was divided into 5 stages of increasing difficulty. Stage 1 was D rank difficulty. Kill the demon fish and obtain 500 soul stones as the quest item. Stage 2 was C rank difficulty. Clean the bottom of the lake and eliminate the mysterious existence behind it to be rewarded with the evil heart core. Wait a minute, hadn't he already done both of those things? What incredible luck. It was like a blatant cheat code. The system then announced that Stage 2 of the God Tier Village quest was complete, and the rewards were distributed to all members of Longyuan Village. Their talent levels increased, and every single person was awarded 1,000 attribute points. Additional rewards included 1 level 3 super synthesis card, 1 level 5 divine luck card, and the land deed for Dapuet Town. The level 3 super synthesis card was an evolved version of the synthesis chest card. Using it could merge 5 black gold chests into a single purple one. The luck card was a level 5 divine card, blessed by the heavenly Tao. Using it for 1 minute would increase the user's luck by 100 times. The land deed was also a level 5 divine card. a contract blessed by the heavenly Tao. This card was bound to the ley lines of Daepuit Town. Using it would make him the owner of Daepuit Town, giving him control over all its public buildings. He never imagined the rewards for an S-rank quest would be this good. He had been worried that the old bastard from the Shang clan would lead Earth-rank experts to attack Longyuan village. But now, all he had to do was use the land deed to sever all connections and teleportation arrays belonging to that guy. If those old geezers wanted to enter Daepuit Town, they'd have to walk through the front gate like everyone else. And once they were inside, he could just use the protective shield to keep his villagers safe. They'd waste all that time and energy just to stand there, staring, fuming, completely helpless. The system also congratulated Qin Feng for completing stage 2 of the mission all by himself. His bonus reward was the Ability Fusion Authority. When used, the system would evaluate 2 of the target's randomly selected skills. If they had a certain degree of compatibility, the abilities could be fused, becoming much stronger in the process. Qin Feng was curious about this S-rank card. It was an item with high authority and a unique effect. For example, in the heat of a fierce battle, an S-rank card was ridiculously overpowered. The system's description made it clear just how insane it was. It meant that once an item or skill of this level was used, not even the most powerful person could break its rules. It was truly heaven-defying. Qin Feng set it aside for now to look at his other rewards. Suddenly, the girl from the Qi clan from before sent him a message, saying she had a favor to ask. She told him she had awakened an A-rank talent, the localized time field. It could create a field with a 5-meter radius. In a non-combat state, 2 days inside the field equaled 1 day outside. Her grandfather told her this talent was extremely rare and could be useful to Qin Feng, and he had to agree. It would be incredibly useful to him. He told the girl to wait a moment and used a teleportation array to set up a point right there. Thinking to himself, the Shang clan was watching him from the front, and the strength of the Heavenly clan was still unknown. He also had to complete the Saint Marshal trial. If he wanted to obtain the divine grade item, he would need much more time. Qi Yue's ability could probably help him cheat time and accelerate his journey to becoming stronger. The girl also remembered her grandfather's words. He was the chief of the Qi clan. He had told her that while the Qi clan could follow a master, it wasn't the same as being part of Longyuan village. Furthermore, she was smart and beautiful. Even if she had to become a concubine, it would ensure that Master Qin Feng remembered the Qi clan. But she didn't think her master was that kind of person. Still, her grandfather was only thinking of his people. He believed Qin Feng was a young prodigy with a brilliant future. If he took a liking to her, it would be her great fortune. At that moment, Qin Feng suddenly called out, startling her. He told her to use the teleportation array to come to the bottom of the sky-reaching lake, saying, "I'll be waiting for you here." She immediately stepped into the teleportation array and appeared before Qin Feng. Since he had just created the portal, he told her to quickly grab his hand. This made the young woman, with skin as sweet as roasted corn, blush deeply. Then, they held hands and vanished into his personal space. He told her this place was completely safe, and she could open her time field here. Without any hesitation, she did just that. She began creating a time-cheating space right there for Qin Feng, and that's where this episode ends. Alright, guys, if you're interested, let me know in the comments so I can get part 2 ready for you tomorrow. Thanks for watching, everyone.